Oh wait.
But gotta get my Harley.
I'll loan you a Harley for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't know if that will do it. And
That would do it in a different way.
Yeah.
and I think we probably need 2 hands for that.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
you're-
you
oh,
just
so
need
you
to
that's
get
right.
some
You're bound
tennis
up, aren't
shoes
you?
and
You
I'll
got to
walk
keep
Or
with
it.
ya.
stick too.
Oh yeah. Oh
Both
God, yeah.
ours are stick.
God, yeah.
And I'm not.
Oh yeah.
It's
yeah.
my left though.
Yeah. That's the most important one, bud.
My left.
Yeah.
According to these guys,
According to-
remember?
Oh.
And Gayla.
And I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's not. That will not
At least
affect you as bad as if
Yeah.
you're right on it.
And you'll
Well-
still be able to text message.
Yes.
Would you spell the word right, please? I do that and I'm thinking, what in the world was that thinking? Because that didn't sound like anything.
Anything I
right.
said, yeah.
I must have a different dialect.
Yeah.
Because I read that and I'm like, that is not what I said.
This coming weekend's a big weekend in Moab, isn't it? Isn't that when they have their big Jeep safari?
During Easter. So that just says FIR.
Yeah, he got. Yeah, James already been in, and he got an E left off of there, off that fir tree. Ready to fire it up?
Yeah, I think so. If you would just say the pledge, Gayla, would you want to lead us today? Gayla?
Oh, okay. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yep,
Are you Commissioner with him?
I'm good with him. Fire away.
I'd move that we approve the proceedings of the Board of Montezuma County Commissioners for March 19th, 2018.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners for Montezuma County, Colorado, March 19th, 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is there a,
Josiah?
I'm gonna get the public comment out of the way. I think it'll, is there any public comment this morning? If not, we're gonna switch, the schedule here a little bit and bring Josiah up first, and then we'll go to the road department.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much
You
for
bet.
being
You
flexible
bet.
with me today.
Morning,
I
Lord.
really appreciate it.
We're all over the place. How are you today?
Josiah. Aye.
I am hoping to be extremely short and to the point this morning. We can start with covering last month's finances and minutes, if that's okay with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Who gave me two?
You had a big month for February, for a short month, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Yeah, yeah. I can't always put my finger on exactly why those
But, yeah.
why that jumps in any particular month, but
Mm-hmm. But your percentages are staying in.
yeah, we're doing
Good
really,
shape,
we're
yeah.
doing really well.
I would make a motion that the record of proceedings and financial statements for the Montezuma County Social Services Department be approved.
Second.
You want to put the date on?
For February 2018.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the record of proceedings and the financial statements for Social Services Department for February 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, guys. I'm not trying to make your eyes go blurry. Look at this. GL. So these are the percentage. So what's the percentage of the month is 16% or 17?
Mm-hmm.
So each one of these are. But this one right here, LEAP, that's because it's
Been winter time.
winter time in January, February. When does LEAP end? So
March is the
this-
last month you can apply for.
End of this month. Remodel's about done, right?
I am down to just installing the new water fountain, and the building construction part is done. I have the two big projects that are still left is, of course, the IT, moving all of the IT stuff over. That's already been contracted, and we're just waiting to get a more specific move
That's
date.
with the state, because your IT's through the state and stuff, right?
Correct,
'Cause
yeah.
Jim was
I
saying-
don't own a single computer or server or any of those things.
Yeah,
That's all
it's all state.
100% paid for by the state, which is why we go that route. It's hard to turn down free
Free
stuff.
stuff, yeah.
But then I'm also a little bit handcuffed to their schedule of when they can help me move those things.
do you know what that schedule is?
They-
Do they have a date for you?
They want 3 days heads up, basically. They can do it in a day, they just need
Oh.
kind of 3 days heads up. And they know that we're hanging out there, this project is hanging out there.
On their
On
account,
their,
basically,
on their end, yeah. So total to date, I think I told you that I could do that remodel for 300,000. As of today, we're at 311,000.
Well,
So
that's-
considering
That's right in
my
there.
first budget did not have any of the security in it, and then we had a couple of hiccups with the elevator breaking, and we took an awful lot of concrete upstairs that I was not aware we were going to have to take upstairs.
Leveling that floor up
to
there.
level that upstairs floor. So 311, I'm pretty happy with where that came in. I still owe one check to the carpenters, but we're going to come in under 350 easily.
So you're,
Do you have the furniture ordered for the third floor? Is that?
It's all ordered and paid for. We're just waiting for it to come in. Yeah, we've got a couple of tables to buy for the training room, little things like that, but we got pretty close. So
yeah, that's pretty tight.
that's wanted to kind of give you guys. Most that's what I wanted to do today was give you an update, tell you that we're ready. Well, we're down to the water fountain and a deep cleaning, and then we're move ready. So
Be set up and ready to go.
once it's deep cleaned and all that, we'll certainly invite you guys over to take a look at it
Yeah.
and open it up to the public to look at if they would like to see it.
Yeah.
There's 101 things going on at the state, and I'm not going to get too far into the weeds on that stuff because I still don't know how much of that is real and how much of that's going to get stalled out until November. I'm certainly paying attention to it, but how much of that's going to actually pan out, I don't want to overwhelm you with too much stuff that I don't know if it's real yet or not. But I can tell you it's moving up there. They are trying to tweak everything
Well,
they
because
can
the
between now
governor-
and November.
Because Reggie's gonna be gone and the governor's gonna be gone, so they're getting ready to.
For sure, the governor's
hammer
gone,
in,
and
yeah.
it's the assumption is that he'll pick his own human services person,
Sure.
and that person will pick their next two levels of people. And
Everything can change.
come January, the job starts over. So
Are they trying to rework all of your allocations and all that kind of stuff too, or that?
well, so that's kind of what we're fighting about. Every change they're wanting to make makes our budgets bigger, and so far the state hasn't told us where their part's coming from.
Coming from, yeah.
Um,
And no unfunded mandates is just fine by us.
Right. So that's again, everything they want to. Every time they roll out something, the answer, our responses will show us the data.
Sure,
What's
yeah.
this going to look like on paper? Because
Yeah,
pretty much they're offering us a lot of guesses,
yeah.
and who says the next governor is going to cover all that cost?
Mhm. I
It's
hear you.
It's a bizarre time for human services. I can tell you that.
I hear
Well,
you.
So that's really all I was going to cover today. Unless you guys have some specific questions or things you want to bring up.
Just keep us in the loop and tell the state we ain't paying for nothing.
Nothing that
That
we
they don't.
They don't match
They
on
want
it.
to. That's right. If they don't want to match it, we ain't gonna do it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm tired of that.
Thank you.
man.
Thank you so much for letting me come early today.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
It was a combination.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. I appreciate it.
Have a good vacation.
Have a good one.
Are you gone all week?
We're gonna kind of play it by ear. I may come back Friday. I may.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I may work Friday. I may come back on Friday. But yeah. So, thank you.
All right, see ya.
Okay, now we'll go with the road department.
Morning, Rob.
James. Morning, Ron.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be back. I missed you guys so much.
It's kind of like missing a stories.
Yeah.
Telling big
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, she wants to know you.
Yeah.
I didn't post that many pictures. Only one.
You post some pictures on Facebook.
I did one. We went to a ball game.
I hope you guys didn't get compromised by Facebook and all the
I
garbage.
don't have a lot of
Yeah,
data on there. So.
yeah. Sounds like they kind of got the apple cart.
Yeah, that's kind of mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't. I'm glad I'm not very tech savvy. 'Cause
Me too.
is that big enough for you guys to see? Bigger?
A little bit bigger.
I can't see it, so. There. How's that?
There you go.
Okay, on the schedule for the next 2 weeks, Cortez is working on their shouldering their L in Road 26. You might have noticed some of that was
Well,
happening
yeah,
last
they've
week.
been at those, shaping those shoulders.
Pulling the
cutting
ditches and-
ditches in and out.
They got some more of that to do and some more little culvert work to do, so they'll be working on that.
Hey, Rob, you know, when I told you that panel was open on that deal, well, the next time I was by there, did they uncover a culvert or something? They were out there with a backhoe and they've gone down under L Road there on 25 on the east side of it, and
That was us.
yeah, no, that's what I mean, that was the county. We were cleaning
Yeah.
out a culvert there. We got a culvert where it was completely sealed off and
Yeah.
gone, wasn't it?
Had been for years.
Years, yeah, nobody knew.
Yeah, so we found the ends of it, cleaned it out, and then added extensions to it and fixed that radius.
Nice.
Because when we lay asphalt through
That's
there, we
gotta
want
help.
to take some of that dip out of it.
Yeah.
So we were going to put a culvert in, is what we were headed out to do.
Yeah.
And then you get to digging around, and there's
Found
one
one.
there. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, they had quite a project. They
Yeah.
went down quite a ways too to get
Oh,
to
it was deep. That's
Deep, yeah.
you know, that's what we find throughout the whole county.
I'll bet you do.
Yeah, it's
Thanks
just-
sediment in. Well, I look at that road out there, 141 out by Egner,
Right.
where they've had those fields over. I mean, my gosh, the amount of sediment and fill that's blown in
Right.
on, come in on that road out there. They were out there, Dolores County, or last year sometime, and they were digging stuff. I mean, they're fences, complete fences that are completely covered up with that soil that's either flooded and run off or wind blown, or it's amazing how much
We
soil
found,
can
we
get
found a
moved.
tremendous amount of that on 25, where we're going to regrind and redo that.
Mm-hmm.
All the accesses, all the driveways, all the other roads were just buried and
Buried,
gone.
buried and
yeah,
gone,
so
yeah.
Just time, you know.
You bet.
So
Years and years, yeah.
yeah, so they're working on L. They're also today going to go out and do some blading on Road H. It's needing bladed, so we've got a water truck coming over from Mancos to help today. But they're going to do some of that. We do have some water in the Toyoak Highline Canal, which they've
Are they doing a stock run, or are they doing a
doing a
livestock
stock run. Yeah, so MVI was kind enough to let us get it started a little bit early on some of that in a couple of places. So we're good
Is
to
the
go.
water turned on now today?
Yeah,
MVI, you can get water next week.
yeah. Water.
April
This
2nd.
week, I thought.
The
April
2nd of
Stock
April.
run this week, and then you can
If,
order water.
if there's
next
enough
week.
people on that canal
Yeah,
that
who
want it,
wants it.
yeah, it's gonna be on a demand basis, so. This letter, Rob, and I'm not trying to throw you off your
That's okay,
schedule.
no, go
but
ahead.
This letter that we got that you, Virginia emailed to us, is this saying that all the canals are now again open to the road department to suck water out of?
No, Toyoak Highline Canal.
That's the only one, huh?
Yeah,
I can't find that letter.
Okay.
I'm not sure which letter you're talking about either.
Well, it's the one about installing the culvert in the Intermountain Farmers Association for the buying a culvert.
Well, that's a culvert.
Yeah, but what didn't we have?
Oh, that's a no.
What's the date on it?
Yeah, 2003.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just some background stuff. We were digging through files and found some stuff to send to you for
This invoice.
information.
But where did I get the letter? I thought that they'd sent us a, maybe, well, I'm goofed up. I saw a letter somewhere about water out of the canals too.
Yeah, Virginia sent us a letter
Yeah.
last week.
This one here.
No, it had to do with water in the canal.
That was just saying that we're going ahead with the.
Highline Canal.
Yeah.
Right,
Highline Canal.
right.
that letter, yeah. So, we're gonna go ahead and start doing some blading. We're not gonna do chloride yet, Mag. It's a little bit early for that still. I'd like to see us go a little longer, because we might get some rain in April. You know, April showers bring potholes if you put it on too soon. So, but, I did that in 2014. We did it. We got away with it. And then in 2015, we was wishing we wouldn't have. So we're kind of holding back just a little bit on that. So then, of course, in the week of the 2nd, the grinder's in. We'll grind that little 500-foot section down in the low area by the city facility where the draw crosses Road L. We'll grind that. It won't take 2 hours to grind that out of there. And then move him to the roundup and start hauling gravel in there. And we're going to raise that grade across that culvert we put in and raise it about a foot and a quarter. And then we'll put some 3/4 on top of that, and it'll be ready for the asphalt overlay then. So
You've got enough culvert in there to widen that out.
yeah, we do. We put a lot of extra culvert in there to build our shoulders out down through there, and we're going to use the 1.5-inch material out of McCamel. We made about 10,000 ton of that we hardly ever use, and it's good material for the subgrade there.
Good
So we'll
base, yeah.
build that up, and then we'll put the hay camp 3/4 over it, and then be ready for full corners to overlay right. So,
Put an end to a bad situation.
yeah,
down there.
I think that's finally going to go away. So
When you were talking about mag chloride, Rob, I was out there at the Ag Expo the other day. Has Tanner ever approached you or asked you if that road from coming in off of the highway and down to the racetrack and how they go down to their parking for has he ever approached you about maybe magging that road and helping them battle that dust problem down
I
there?
don't recall him asking me. He might have talked to Rick or some of those guys, some of the foremans, but I don't think him and I've ever talked about magging that.
I would think it would make it a lot nicer for all the patrons and the people that go down there, and it'd save him, because I know he tries to water it. I know he tries to
It's
keep
probably a
running
money
water.
thing.
Probably a money
yeah,
thing.
mag's pretty expensive. So I'm just guessing that Tanner hasn't spoke to me about it because he knows it costs some money to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What would
How far is that? A
It
quarter
must be
mile
what?
or half
Probably
a mile?
quarter, maybe 3/8 of a mile down to the racetrack.
We charge $1.25 a foot. to put it down.
$1.25 a foot.
So
Okay.
for us to do the work. So
Temperature, material and everything.
that's the mag, that's the blade, that's the application, water trucks, that's everything to put it down. Like a citizen that wants 400 foot in front of their house, we charge $1.25 a foot.
Yeah.
So
Should be about $3,000 or $4,000.
yeah. So
Might be worth it.
I'll tell you what, it's sure, I think you ought to take a look at it. Because he's spending that much running water and trying to keep it wetted down with water and stuff, might,
Just man hours.
yeah.
How
I'm
long's
gonna
that
bring it
last
up
once
to
you
him.
mag chloride it?
Pardon me?
How long's that last once you mag chloride it?
It'll last all summer.
Oh, depends on the traffic.
Well, yeah,
you know, how
and-
much
and
they
how
beat
much
it
rain and stuff.
in rain. But it, once you do it a couple, 2 or 3 times, and it gets deeper, then it works pretty good for lasting the summer without some. But sooner or later, you're gonna have to do it again.
Do it
So,
again, yeah. It's not a permanent fix,
Right. So
but the more you do it, the longer it lasts, the better.
you'll get a year or 2 out of it, and then it'll blow out and then wear out, and then you'll have to do it again. So, and then I don't know the condition of that road. I don't know whether that's a good enough gravel he wouldn't need a little gravel to sweeten it up and make it where it blends in correctly. So.
Have we had any information back on that fossil water from Reams?
No, I haven't heard a word.
Nothing from
No.
the state on that?
So Mancus then, they're blading some roads. Of course, I just mentioned that they're actually coming over today to help with some Road H too. So they're blading roads. A lot of their roads in the lower valley are almost done, but they've got a few more to do that are a little bit potholed out. But overall, their valley roads are really in good shape. Last week, they spent all week up there on the upper elevation roads up 42, 41, above 184. Got those all in good shape, so they're doing good. So I'm kind of looking at doing some driveway approaches with them starting Monday the 2nd. And do some of those. Dolores, they're working on a lot of roads. They're pulling shoulders, they're shaping and pulling in the width, where they were so wide, and getting them pulled back to the 24 foot or 25 foot. So they're working on T and 27, 28, and 39, and P, and a half a dozen more. And you probably noticed your road is pulled
We
up.
have a
Yeah.
bar ditch for
You
the
have a
first
bar
time
ditch,
in
yeah.
30 years.
30 years.
It's probably not driving
was
real
like-
smooth right now, but
But I was like, wow,
so.
it was pretty incredible.
Yeah,
That's
we
good
pull a
thing.
tremendous amount of gravel back up out of there. There's just all kinds of gravel, but with that comes the sod too.
Sure,
So
sure,
you gotta-
everything comes with it, you bet.
You
Dirt
gotta
and
work
sod
that
and-
back and forth and work it,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
let the folks drive on it for a while and take the phone calls and, okay, we're coming. And then everybody settles down.
This
and
is
we-
a process,
Yes.
not an event. This
It
is a
yes.
process,
So It is, but we save a lot of money in gravel
Well,
too.
sure.
There's a lot
Just
of
laying
gravel.
there in the bog, just
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Doing nothing. I mean, that's the smartest thing you can do.
So instead of putting 6 or 8 inches of new gravel down, we do this. We might only have to put 3 or 4. You know,
Yeah.
put a thin lift on it, and it's good for several years then. So,
Yeah.
so
God, yeah.
that's kind of the way we're doing it in that district, and then pulling them up. We got a culvert to put in on Road S going up to the hay camp pit. We'll put that in this week. And then hopefully, if all the weather goes good, we've delayed it a week or two here to help, mostly to get water usage up there. We're waiting for the snow to a little bit more water to come down Beaver. So Wednesday, the 4th, we plan on going up with a couple of the big John Deere blades, pulling the shoulders, getting everything shaped, and then Monday, the 9th, start hauling gravel.
That's when you'll start
Right,
hauling
if the weather holds. So we were scheduled to start tomorrow. We had a little storm event come through. It did put some snow on the road up there, changed things a little bit on us, and then we're supposed to get a little rain today, but tomorrow, but it might not, I don't know. But these little storms are helping us, so I want to take advantage of it. I don't want to go too early and then waste a good opportunity to get the moisture. So Roundup is shouldering for Road 21. We've got ourselves into a real nightmare going up Road 21. This is between P and S. It's just one thing after another. Drainage issues, culverts, the drainage in the draws, the culverts are silted in. We're having to put in 48-inch culverts, and it's like, wow. You drive it every day and it looks pretty good till you start working on it, and it's just opened up a can of worms. So
Is that on the
Chip seal?
west side?
no, it's all gravel from P to S. It goes up from Road P up through the canyons there. And
Oh.
we've got land boundary issues with
Yeah.
property owners. We've got easement issues. We've got lots of issues up through there. So we did start the trucks up there today, but there's only enough there to haul for maybe a day or two while we're doing these other things. But that's where we're at. Road 21 is got that crew sucked up pretty tight.
Is that west of 491?
Yes, on the west side, yeah. So we're working our way up through there. Like I said, we've got some land issues. We've got some culvert drainage issues with irrigation attached to them. It's a lot of little things we've got to
By
work
Lucky
with.
Pickens is
Yeah, I think he's on 20, isn't he? Lucky's on 20, yeah. Up there by Gardner's. And then 21 is down by that little subdivision where Jason Chaffin lives up through there. So, yeah. It's a good road. It's a good road. Don't get me wrong. It's just had 3-inch rock showing on it. We didn't have nothing to work with anymore.
Yeah.
So it was time to gravel it then when we started doing all the things we do before we gravel.
Gravel it. You
and
start.
it goes through that canyon.
2 canyons. The first one there's got a drainage issue. The culvert is 75% plugged with silt. So we almost lost that road last summer in a flood event.
Yeah.
So that's what's got us in there.
Into
Last
that, yeah.
last summer's floods got us interested here, So the road water was going over the road, and we fixed the culvert on the north end of 21, and this one here we've got to replace it.
Yeah.
We just got to take it out. So raise the grade, do some work there.
So when it silts in like that, how do you clean it out?
You raise your culverts, raise the road, because it's 50 years of silt.
Oh, something moving
Yeah,
in there. Yeah,
so
your landscape on one side's changed.
And
Yeah,
to go downstream, we'd have to go into somebody's property, and who knows how much we'd have to dig out down through there to get everything back to what it was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So we just raised the culverts
raise
and
the culvert,
raise
raise
the
the
grade.
road.
Do you take that one out, or do you just
take it out. Yep.
kind of fill it with dirt?
Yep. Subgrade gravel and then put a new one in. So anyway, we got into a can of worms.
Yeah.
And it's a big job up through there. So, but it's a road that needed it.
It is what it is.
Crushing, he'll continue crushing 3/4 chips. We were in there discussing that this morning through Thursday, and then he'll flip over to 3/4 road base and take the rest of the chips. Now, we've got enough chips for this year. We're good. We're already into 2019 ideas, different roads, different things we want to do next year. So he's making chips now for next year.
Wow.
Work.
Wow.
So, and that's kind of the way. That's kind of the way, well, it is not kind of, it's the way it works with that crushing, is we're already looking at 2019 work. So for him to be ahead of us. So that's where he's at. So we got our ideas, and I plan on doing about, 5 miles of chip seal repair or replace next year, and about 3 miles of new, plus the Dolores Norwood Road is another 4. So we're looking at, 7 to 8 miles of new stuff, plus 5 miles of rebuild, tear up, and replace. So that's how he stays ahead of me. I don't give him road numbers, I just give him ideas,
Yeah.
mileage. So,
Mileage numbers.
yeah, so that's where we're at with him. Grinding, like I said, we start with L Monday, and then we move to W at Lewis, then over to 25, and then we land at 42 over at Mancus. We got that little 6/10 of a mile through the swamp curves we want to tear out and rebuild. So we'll grind that piece out. So, so
Will it be
there's
done in a week?
no,
Probably.
ma'am, no, only goes on a
Grind
little
it.
bit further,
Okay.
but not bad. No, we
Not
think
bad,
we'll he thinks we'll be out here in 8 days. So, You know, I think Lebanon Road will be the one that gives him the fits, of course. That's the most overlays and patches and heavy asphalt, but sure makes for good road base too. So if it takes him an extra day or two of grinding, that helps us. So there's the
I'll tell you,
schedule.
that Lebanon Road's gonna be the best road in the county when that's done.
That's a busy road.
That's a busy road, yeah.
So, Road L intersection with 25, it's
Oh, my
almost
gosh.
impossible
Oh,
to
yeah.
work there.
Oh, yeah.
You stand there and you wait anyway. So, okay, we've got an option or an opportunity to bid. We're bidding on it now. It's a snowplow. La Plata County has it ready to go. They bought some new trucks. It's based right now. It's a 5100 on the bid. It's an open bid on the public utilities thing. Our public bid. It's a 1996 International Paystar 4x4 big truck with a really good sander in the back. So I told them to keep an eye on it. I just told them if we get in around 15,000, probably would be a number to stop at. This truck's worth probably 250,000 new if you was to replace it new. So I said, watch the bid today.
Yeah.
So we're watching it.
Where's it on? Is it online?
Yeah, it's online. It's one of them online public auctions.
When does it close?
Pardon me?
When does it?
1 o'clock this afternoon, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah. And we got to look at the truck last week. We went over and looked at it too. We sent the mechanics to a DOT brake school to be updated and certified for these trucks and their brakes and all that. So they were actually able to go look at this truck.
a
They
look
met
at
with the foreman, the shop foreman over at La Plata County, and went and looked at the truck, started it all up, and came back with a lot of good things to say about it. So,
This is the type of thing we should talk about without the public. If
Really?
It's okay.
well, it's an open bid. So.
Yeah, I know, but just knowing what we think and want to do with that.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right. You tell me to shut up quicker.
Yes. I doubt there's anybody lurking that's watching. It's just, you know,
They're trying to bid you?
Yeah, so we're watching that.
Do we need a motion on that one if he ends up buying it?
I guess so. If it's not a line item that he's already been approved for and it's over $5,000.
Mm, It's over
then
5, so yeah.
You gotta give him authority to spend it.
I would move that we grant the road supervisor authority to bid up to how much, or you want to limit on it?
I'm not saying that again.
Okay.
Over 5. Just
Yeah.
trust him on that.
It could be 50,000 now.
Authorize him to spend over $5,000 on a snowplow truck bid through La Plata County.
That's all. That's the only reason.
Second.
I see what you're saying.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the road department to bid on a snowplow truck that will go for over 5,000. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, another one. Now this one is, there's no messing around with this one. This is their price. Yeah. So, this is the widener that we've been talking about, shoulder
yeah.
widener.
Yeah.
I got that on the big screen this morning so people see how it works. We've got a quote for the machine plus an attachment that would fit onto our backhoes, our 410 backhoes. We have the skidster size that we think is necessary, but talking to CDOT, who owns one, they do the same thing. They said the problem with the skidsters is they do have a hard time pushing the trucks. So they've went to their live bellies with the conveyors in the bottom to feed them for the most part. And I was telling them what our thoughts was putting it on a backhoe. They go, oh yeah, then you push the truck with a backhoe.
No problem.
So we think that this quote, I think there's another sheet there. Yeah, this quote. This quote includes that hitch. It's a $2,665 attachment we buy that quick attaches to our backhoe, then picks this machine up and goes with it. So by doing that, we have 3 of the 410s in our inventory, plus 2 skidsters. So if the skidsters work, fine. If they don't, we got the backhoes that could work for districts. Yeah. So they've quoted us at $47,074, but there's this roller extensions. I got to talk to them, but I almost think we need those. Those bump out to the wheels of the trucks, and a lot of our trucks are different between the pintle hitch for our chip seal and the wheel locations, and those are a big part of pushing the truck. So I just penciled in another $800 at $47,874. Yeah. They've got 2 in stock, so they're not a long lead time, but my recommendation to the Board of Commissioners is to purchase this with all the roads we've got to do now,
Shoulders,
plus
yeah.
all this new paving we're doing. My fear is, and I'm seeing it, I'm scared of it, is the fact that whereas we do these shoulders, we raise up, we leave a lip there, and the speeds are increasing. Regardless, if we keep them at 40, the speeds are still increasing. So we have to address this, you know, get some shoulders there to get off a little bit and get back all of that, turn our car
Doesn't
over.
suck you right off the
Not to
road.
mention the erosion and the damage it does to the shoulders too, you know, that's a big part of it too, so.
I move we approve the road department to purchase the, what do you call it?
Road widener.
Road widener for 47, sorry, $47,874.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the road department to purchase a road widener for $47,874. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Where is that at? What-
Grand Junction.
The dealer is in Grand Junction. I'm not sure where they build it. Somewhere here in the States. It's built somewhere. So, I talked to CDOT and man, they just love it. They just think it's the best thing. And
Wow.
they did not get the remote control. That's another thing to talk about. You probably won't get these things in the future without the remote control because now they have a man walking between the machine and the tire on the skid steer running that little gate that moves in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't like that. That's kind of dangerous, which I don't blame them. You don't ever want a person in that spot.
Will yours have a remote on that?
Yes, we'll do it with remote control. So there was little additional cost to that, but for the safety and for that part alone, even CDOT said they won't buy another one without it.
Without that.
Yeah, so.
We seen that same thing when we toured that mine in
Oh,
La
yeah,
Plata
in La
County,
Plata
how they
County.
had them remote controls to run
Yeah.
the miners. And
You had that
until
continuous
these-
miner, and he was standing over here
Right.
by a pillar and running that machine. That was
So much
wild.
safer.
Oh yeah.
That was a
You
pretty
just-
serious machine.
Oh, that was a serious machine. Oh, God. That was a mountain eating son of a gun's what that was, man. That thing would eat it up.
Okay, and then DOLA, we've been talking DOLA. We have a initial glance. Basically, we've done a lot of work last 10 days on estimating. We've got a few things to round out. This doesn't have to be turned in until April 2nd. It's first by the rules, but the first is on a Sunday. So Patrick has given us Monday to mail this. So if it's all right with you guys, the next Monday we'll need to sign this. So I'm giving you a preliminary look at the cost breakdown on this. If you got any questions, I can help you with how we're doing it, but I'll give you a quick rundown. It's broken into sections. So section 1 is County Road BB from 491 to County Road 15. This is where we have all the issues with the drainage in the bottom, the hillside that never will hold chip seal. We're proposing to asphalt from 491 to Road 15 because of those issues. Now, some of the questions is, do we do a complete grind and asphalt, or do we just do an overlay to a certain point, save a little money, keep the existing grade the way it is, and then do some paving through the valley? So we don't know. We're looking at our options, but right now that's what we would do. We would do a full pay from 491 to 15. Then at section 2 would be Road 15 to Road 13. Grind it, remove it, rebuild it, widen it, do whatever we got to do, and then re-chip seal it.
How come that section on the first part has never been able? You've never been able to hold chip seal there. I mean, that's
Water.
been forever.
Water. It's springs, and chip seal and water do not get along. And I think that we can fix this with some drainage repairs or improvements, I should say, using our our gravel from Ormiston, which is a free drain base, and then put a bridging asphalt on it. And I believe we can at least make it a heck of a lot better than chip seal was. So. And then once we get past 15, then we do pretty good. We got our soft shoulders, and we'll build them up again, and we'll do things like that. But from 15 on out to Road 10, it's your typical run-of-the-mill, wore-out roads, not so much water problems. So anyway, and then we get into sections 3, 4, and 5 are actually intersection rebuilds. You'll see the numbers drop some on the cost to do the work. Down at the bottom, you've got some engineering, but basically we're looking at a cash outlay of $483,960 from DOLA, and then we match in kind by doing the work with $515,829. So it's in balance in our favor. So it's basically $1 million job, but we're gonna get, hopefully, if DOLA goes with us, $483,000, that's what we would apply for. And we would match it with our own people and our own materials.
Just a 50-50 deal.
A little bit more our costs, and that helps us with DOLA. DOLA sees
sure.
that and looks at it. We think, or at least we feel like
You're
they like
pretty
that pretty good, so. But again, we've got some information that Melissa's back today. She can help us with this week with some of our county stuff we gotta give them. Some questions and answers that need to be filled in that are pretty minor. But the text part of the application is complete. So if you're in favor of letting me wait till Monday of next week to sign off on this, we'll get you the final package ready to go. So it's just this is just a look into what's coming next week. So I thought I might let you at least have something to think about. So
Do you know when these are presented?
no, I don't. I don't know when they're
When and
presenting
where?
those. Yeah, I do not know that. It's probably there. I just haven't asked yet. So I just know I got to get it turned in by Monday, and Patrick gave us Monday to mail them. So if we can sign Monday morning, we'll mail them that day. So. Any questions on DOLA?
You don't think that's pushing it right to the deadline like that?
Yes, sir. I mean,
Well, and-
but for your signature, it's not a complicated signature. It's just that it's a signature that you've seen it is really what it is. So
You have to do a resolution,
Right.
kind of a resolution to apply for this grant.
Why can't we do it today?
Because they don't have it ready,
because
right?
I don't have
We
it
don't
ready
have
for
it.
you to sign.
Oh.
Yeah, I just don't have
And-
everything.
Just, you
And
gotta get
it's,
some
they
county
all, they
information.
want it electronically anyways, so it's not like it's, the mail will
Okay.
not get
It won't
there,
get
'cause-
lost in the mail.
correct.
No.
It's an electronic
It is.
submission.
I just can't send a copy of your signature. It has to be the original signature that she can send. So I just feel more comfortable to let us finally get all the bells and whistles and I's all dotted and everything done before we have you sign off on it, because I wouldn't want to have to do it twice. So I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
DOLA's makes it very workable. If we just do our thing right here, it'll be okay. So. But it's a good job and it's a good application.
It'd be
so.
great to get their help on that.
Yeah. So.
Well, and I'll tell you what, that should fit with DOLA, that being severance money from DOLA, that's right out there in Kinder Morgan's front yard, you know, I mean, that's a road that should be a slam dunk there. Chasing. That should be a slam dunk.
We received the 1 ton in dumps. We finally got those in this week, so we'll be getting those going this week. I'll get some radios in them here. John Deere, it's that time of year again where we start processing this rotation of our blades. We do that this summer. So they were on site last week and they gave us 3 inspections on some older cat blades. So I have not seen the numbers yet on them, but they'll be giving us the trade-in numbers value on those.
Good.
And we'll start this process, so it'll be 6 different blades, 4 replacing the one we got and 2 more, and then we'll probably stop right there. We're getting to a point now where everything's pretty healthy on
Pretty
the
up.
original stuff, and got a good system in place, and I think we'll probably stop right there. But along with that, I'll probably be in here having to buy another walk and roll to put with one of these blades to go to Mancos. What we'll do is 1 new blade will go to Mancos District, and then we'll take an H series with a walk and roll out of Mancos and put it in Dolores. And that'll give Dolores 2 blades with walk and rolls.
Yeah.
Roundup should have 3, and then Cortez has 2. So the walk and rolls, as we've seen now, are tremendous to our blading efforts and keeping them in pretty good shape. I think they've paid off more than what we've paid. Yes, so good deal for us. So.
Because basically it takes, instead of 2 people, a blade and then a roller,
Well,
you can do it all at the same time.
that's a part of it. That's the money side of it. But the part of it that we like is you're rolling it as soon as you open it up. As soon
And
as
you're
you start
packing it
opening
right
that
back,
up,
yeah.
you're putting it right back down from the bottom up, and doing it in little lifts because you're moving not 6 inches at a time, but a few inches as you lay it back across. And it's just the
Building that road
Mancos
back.
guys, the 2 over Mancos, 1 blade, 1 big blade, and 1 walk and roll with the 20 miles of road they have gravel can do just fine. They're just doing great. 1 guy on a water truck, 1 guy on a blade,
Man, that's-
and they're taking care of all
That's
the
as
Mancos.
simple as it's ever gonna get,
It is.
you know?
And you know, you're just Jason and Larry both have said what a difference it's made to have these walk and rolls, keeping these roads together over there. So,
Good stuff.
yeah, so
Good stuff.
okay. I guess that's it. You got any questions?
Keep going.
Entertained you enough
Keep
for the
going.
week?
Yeah.
Good.
You're
Okay.
always pleasant on Monday morning. You're always pleasant.
I'm sure glad we don't meet on Thursdays. See you guys.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Okay, Shaq,
Shaq, you're up because, Josiah's already been.
Okay. I'll try to get you guys to lunch early.
Morning, Shaq.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you? Good.
Shaq.
Morning. Hi. Morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for the text. Made my day.
Happy vacation.
Yeah,
You got your pointer?
pointer. Yes, I
Oh,
do.
that's fine.
Let me get this.
I'm gonna be pretty boring and quick this morning. I haven't got much to talk about, but,
Where do you wanna go?
let's go to the bottom of the income and see where we're at there. Income and recycling. You can go up just a little further.
Which, I forgot to look at the heading.
We're looking at February actual compared to budgeted and the year actual, and then that's what's projected for the year, so. I could probably lock those so everything underneath them scrolls
Oh,
and those.
That'd be good.
Yeah, maybe for next month, not a problem.
When I
Anyway.
turn it to a PDF, it doesn't work though, sorry.
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah,
And you can't bring it up in Excel?
I could, but it doesn't show on the screen as well,
Oh, okay,
so.
alright.
Technical.
So, we're down a little bit in income this month, which is probably mostly due to wind closures. It's been beating the snot out of us this year. Hopefully, we're almost past that, but if you wanna scroll down a little further.
How many days have you had to have wind closures?
5 or 6 now,
Is that since January, or is that mostly in February?
mostly in February.
In February.
In February and March, yeah. So,
Might be a good place for one of those wind turbines.
maybe,
Put one
huh? It might be, cause we get that mesa effect there where the wind just sits there and hovers and hovers and hovers.
Huh.
So, yeah, I don't know that we'd have enough to put in, space to put in several, but the BLM's not doing anything with their land there, so.
Good
Anyway.
thought.
We've paid out close to 4,000 in recycle credits, to the various haulers, so that's good. And then if you wanna scroll towards almost the very bottom, Melissa. We went ahead and made the purchase on the alternative daily cover sprayer and, the clay. I actually got it when they were doing a sale for the clay, so.
Good.
What we had budgeted for the clay was 34 and what we paid for it was 17.
Wow.
So
Wow.
they were having a discount, so we nailed that perfectly. So we got it a little earlier than we planned, which leaves us a little bit in the red for the month. Without that, we'd have been in the black for the month and starting to work on this number. But I think throughout the year, we're going to see that that'll pay for itself, saving the $17,000. So.
It's a
Other
good-
than that, we're smashing trash and putting dirt on top of it. I don't have a whole lot to say this Monday. but-
I think the cleanup day for the city is this coming, what,
It's May 10th.
May 10th?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I think it's May, is
I
that
thought it was sooner than that.
right? Maybe it's May 12th.
Okay.
I think it's the 12th.
The next big upcoming deal that we have is the last week of April when Empire Electric is doing their appliance turn-in for refrigerated appliances. And for those people who don't know, Empire Electric will allow you to go in, get a voucher. You can take in to us 2 of your refrigerated appliances, so a refrigerator and a freezer, or 2 freezers or whatever. And they will pay the disposal fee, which covers the cost of us removing the freon and recycling the metal. Plus, they'll credit your electric bill $60 per appliance you turn in. So, really, if you take advantage of that with 2 of them, you get $120 on your electric bill credit, and you save almost $100 in disposal fees. So it's like somebody giving you $220.
It's a good deal.
So.
It's a good deal.
If you've got refrigerators or freezers to clean up, get the voucher before the last week in April, and then the last week in April, bring us your appliances. So, and then after that will be the city cleanup.
Gotcha.
Were you gonna discuss that,
Yeah, let's
Well-
discuss it right now. Might as well.
city cleanup?
Yeah.
It'll be the free.
Right. Yeah, I got an email from Shane Hill wanting to know if we were still going to abide by, we had talked about on the city's cleanup day of can't remember how it was worded.
In the past, I don't know how his email was worded, but in the past, they've held that event on the Saturday where everybody could bring everything to the BMX track.
Put it-
And the haulers have set up roll-offs out there and brought it to the landfill, and in the past, the commissioners have paid the disposal fee.
Mhm.
That's how it used to be.
And that was somewhere in the vicinity of $2,000 to $2,500
Roughly.
for that we were paying
Correct.
for that cleanup fee. And we had discussed
We discussed,
having
people just drive to the landfill
the county people
instead.
and people to drive to the landfill and do a free drop off.
Free drop off for non-commercial.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
yeah,
it would be residents.
yeah. So it's kind of a question Shane had asked if we're still gonna maintain that. How, what would be best for the landfill and your,
Well, I mean,
Sure.
it comes to us either way.
right,
So,
Seems to me like it'd be one less.
it'd just eliminate a middleman.
Yeah.
If it came straight to us.
Mhm.
Yeah, if it comes straight to us, it would eliminate a middleman.
But it would also mean a lot more traffic and stuff down there at your,
Sure, it
Sure,
would be the
but-
traffic that's there, normally there.
It might increase some, knowing that it's a free
a free
day,
day, yeah.
free day for residents. But
Mhm.
what we would do is just have them track what that, what the cost of that is.
Sure, we
what
could
the
give you
value
a
of that
tonnage and
is.
charge report for the day and just
Mhm.
let you know how it
Well,
goes.
it makes no sense to me to haul it to a parking lot and pick it back up and then haul it to the landfill instead of just hauling it straight to the landfill.
Right.
Why does the city do it? It's for convenience? Is that?
I think for their residents, they just want to get stuff around their town cleaned up. I think they need to maybe they'll clean up a vacant lot or clean up junk around their house or whatever.
So they could still market it the same.
They can. I think it would just be that. I think they'll tell. I think they're still going to do that for city residents. But Shane indicated to me that there were a lot of county people brought their stuff down to that recycle bin. So they're gonna then tell county people that they have to drive their stuff to the landfill.
And so, how do they know that?
I don't know if they're going to sit down there and ask them.
And do they ask every person, where'd you come from?
I don't know.
I mean, that's, the indication that they gave me was that more than half the people who come there are county residents. So, I mean, to some degree, if we put it out there that.
But you don't have to believe everything that's told to you, so how do they know that half of them are county residents?
It's like
Exactly.
I'm good with keeping it.
The question that he asked me, or the last thing he said, well, maybe we should go on KSJD and put it out together, that everybody's gonna, that it's gonna be different this year. And the residents to, drive to instead. So, I think it was just something different and he was just trying to put it out. But I don't know if it's ever been said that the commissioners are the ones who pay
I don't think
that
so. But
fee
yeah, I don't think
for the
that-
day either.
I've never seen you guys receive any credit for it.
No, no credit for it.
I just think what's right is to stop and park and go straight to the landfill. And
Down,
it doesn't
see-
matter who gets the credit.
come down and see what a beautiful landfill we have.
Yeah.
What a highly efficient,
like that.
highly efficient, beautiful operation we got going down there. A lot of our residents don't know that. They never get down there.
And it's not that far out of the way.
No.
Some places you're driving
No.
an hour to go to the landfill, and it's not too
Not
far
here.
from town.
Okay.
And that does, I mean, that's just, regular trash or slash, electronics, they have to pay for tires.
Yeah, right.
There's no, it's not free for all.
Not free for all for everything.
No, just for
Refrigerators are-
regular trash, anything that's an extra charge, we'll still have that charge associated with it. Unless out of the generosity of your hearts, you want to pick up that tab too.
Maybe you can run a sale down there on the upcycle store while we're having all these people come down. Maybe you ought to run a
Sure.
hot special on your upcycle store down there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Might-
We'll load you up on your way out.
Come in loaded, we'll send you home loaded. You got it, man, you got
Yeah.
it. I like that.
That's what we'll do.
There you go. I like the way you think, man.
Well, another thing that we have is Shaq and his crew, and I don't know how many of your crew is gonna meet us at the Justice Building tomorrow, and all of the electronic all the electronic stuff, and all the legal books and everything, all the treasures that they
That were left behind, treasures left
we're
behind.
going to clean out of the Justice Building tomorrow. I mean,
Right.
there are scads and scads and scads of legal books,
Yeah.
you know, and of course they're in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
But we're gonna take all that stuff out.
So
And
do you have a roll-off?
he's,
We're bringing ours.
and we're also, there's a lot of electronic stuff. If anybody needs electronics from the 1980s, there's a lot of that. It all just got shoved to the basement, so they're
Yeah.
gonna bring their recycle cartons, boxes that they use, and we'll
Good.
just load it up,
Load in there.
and it's,
Is this state property or is this Montezuma County property?
it's turned into Montezuma County
but
property
we
by
should charge
declaration
them.
when they,
Yeah, I think we need to send the court system the bill for cleaning out their,
You can't just leave your trash and
Yeah.
your computers and all that.
well,
I
they
don't
gave us
expect
all
us
that,
to take care of
all
that.
that wonderful, they did leave a lot of good furniture. I mean,
Mhm.
that we are using,
Yeah.
reusing, and going lots of places, but, yeah, it's interesting.
So who shall the bill go to for the electronics recycling?
It will
We
be-
will credit the office paper recycling against it, but there's a lot of electronics. So.
It'll go as part of our overall remodel, so you can bill it separate. as
Bill
one.
Melissa Bruner individually.
To county administrator, and then
Okay,
we'll pay it.
okay, we'll get it from somewhere.
I think Gary Cole got to see that.
Well, it's a combination of state patrol, city,
Oh,
county,
County, everybody's,
probation, you know, I mean, it's just, they have rooms that,
got filled.
I couldn't tell you where it came from.
Yeah.
Could have been
Gotcha.
almost anywhere. And they just shoved it in a corner, and the corner's full.
And the corner kept growing and growing and growing, and it's full.
Will it fill the roll-off?
So we're gonna bring our flatbed trailer for boxes and pallets for the electronic waste. And, yeah, so it'll fill that, and we're gonna bring the roll-off for the paper, and it'll come close to filling that.
And I think
That's
we'll
all.
have Mike there with his trailer just to move some more of the furniture out. We've moved a lot of the furniture, I don't know how many sets. And then they have a whole section of, I wanna say cubicles, I mean, that will actually end up in this room for the DA. They've got a set of 4, you know, that has the whole,
Nice.
so those will come, but we can't move those out.
Those will be cubicles for DA staff
Right.
to work out of, right? Nice.
For their assistants or their legal, what are they called?
I don't know
It's
if,
not-
if they're just paralegals or.
I think the paralegals where they have all their stuff.
I mean, they have some cubicles set up at their office right now,
Yeah,
but maybe
and
these are better.
they're going to leave those there,
Okay.
and then we'll bring those from the Justice Building in here, so
Wow.
there'll be 4 in here.
Is the school narrowing in on getting us a deal done?
I haven't talked to them, but I think we're getting super close, so. But I wanted to tell Shaq how much we appreciate him. Coming in.
Bringing his staff up,
Thank
and his equipment.
If you guys wanna put on your grungies and
When's that happening? Tomorrow?
10 o'clock
10
tomorrow,
o'clock tomorrow.
I'll be there.
All right.
We'll be there. All right, well, I didn't have much this week.
I will say, a couple weeks ago, or week before last, we had the haulers
Mm-hmm.
meeting,
Right.
and you might report in on that. I did send information to, Mancus, Dolores, and Dolores County. I haven't heard back from them, but they all are waiting for their municipal elections, so that their new boards will be seated, and then we'll have scheduled in June, a meeting for you to do that presentation to their
All right.
municipal boards.
And I made my reservations for the Colorado Association for Recycling Summit in June, so I should have the lowdown on what they're planning before we
Good.
have the meeting with the towns.
Good.
That'll give us one more piece of information.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's gonna be big. If state pushes through that 5-year plan, that's gonna be big.
yeah,
That's
it'll completely
It'll
change the
change.
way I do business.
Yeah.
Do you wanna
Change the
tell,
way everybody does business.
will you tell the
Landfill.
public a little bit about what that is gonna entail?
So, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment has put out over the last 2 years what they're calling their Integrated Solid Waste and Materials Management Plan, and which they set diversion goals that are not yet mandates, but at some point probably will become mandates, for banning certain materials from landfills and requiring that it be recycled and requiring certain diversion rates for municipalities. And so we're looking at what we're going to do to get ahead of the ball so that we don't get run over when it comes.
Unfunded mandates, just always
Correct.
remember that, always
And
remember what the
so
state of
one of
Colorado.
the materials was paper, correct?
So the first year, and I don't have my display in front of me. I don't think I have any copies of it left in me, unless Melissa still has it on her
Computer.
computer, but she's disappeared now. So the first year they want to require food waste generators of more than 100 and something tons per year to divert to composting facilities. And each year during the 5 years, that goes down until at the end of 5 years, food waste would be banned from landfills.
And you
The-
can't count the hospital or Safeway or City Market which has the most, correct?
No, I could count them for the food waste. They're just not willing to count the cardboard they already divert.
Oh, that's correct.
The second year, they want to require haulers to offer recycling with their garbage hauling at no extra cost, which of course is impossible because the diesel in the truck costs money and the operator of the truck costs money. So normally hidden fees that the government frowns upon, now they want to mandate. And then the second or third year, they want to ban recyclables from landfills. They don't say what recyclables, but the most common ones, of course, are paper, cardboard, plastic, those types of things, metals. So, and they want to mandate that transfer stations collect those materials separately. And then
My question is, what's left? It looks like you could be able to
Yeah.
get down with the shovel and to do work around the landfill.
right, we would.
There is nothing left.
They don't ban mattresses. So
Oh.
we could
And
have a
clothing.
monofill for mattresses.
And now we've got somebody gonna do clothing recycling, they're gonna bail
Right.
up and take care of clothing, so that landfill, you're never
It's gonna
have
last
to-
forever.
You're never gonna build another cell shack,
If
you're
they
you're
get their way,
good.
they won't. Yeah.
Did she come talk to you about bailing?
That clothing, I haven't heard anything out of her since,
She did. She came and I gave her a tour of our facility and showed her how we do things. I've made myself available if she wants to consult on anything. As far as I know, she's applied for a grant. I don't know whether
Yeah.
she's
get a
received it
bailing.
or not. Correct.
I think it would be probably a lot different than yours. I mean, I'm guessing a lot smaller.
I think. the
Probably.
size,
I
yeah,
don't think
yeah.
they would need the size of operation we have for that.
Yeah.
That would be a little overkill for just some clothes.
But it's surprising how much, I can't remember, she gave us some numbers on how many
How much they
tons
have
of
on
clothes,
there.
yeah, that come out of the Good Samaritan, the Methodist thrift shop, and that's where she originated, was the Methodist thrift shop. They've got so much stuff down there that gets dropped off to them that they can't do anything with it, and it's, yeah, I mean, it's a bunch. I mean, it
Right.
surprised me, I can't remember the numbers, but it was surprising how much she was gonna
Yeah,
be doing.
several tons.
Yeah, yeah, so,
Yeah,
exactly.
many tons. So.
Yeah.
She sent out, what, 2 truckloads a year,
Mm-hmm.
which would be about 80,000.
80,000.
A little over,
Hundred
yeah,
and-
because they want the trucks to be 44,000 pounds. So.
Will there be a market for the plastics, cardboards and so forth by year 2 or
So the national sword from China has definitely affected the markets, but the way that we are sorting and separating, we're still able to get our materials to market. As far as what's going to happen 5 years from now, I can't tell you. Because they're like any other markets, they fluctuate.
Yeah.
For example, now our metal markets are about to go up because of the tariff that they're looking to put in place for imported metals. So of course, when the demand remains the same but the supply is cut, the prices go up. So there's going to be more of a demand for our metals now. And plastics will tend to follow the oil markets because they're made of oil. So as oil fluctuates up or down, the plastics tend to follow. Right now we're seeing a decline in paper and plastic prices because of the national sword. 80% approximately of materials recovered for recycling in the United States have traditionally gone to China to be remanufactured into post-consumer products. And because of the single stream influx that was happening across the United States and the United Kingdom, China said the stuff you're sending us is too dirty because single stream doesn't get cleaned up as well. And so they said, as of January 1st, 2018, we're not going to take anything from the United States or the United Kingdom. And so they closed their door to that, which really started affecting us in November, which is why we got ahead of the ball. We started further separating our materials so it hasn't affected us as much. But what ended up happening, because 80% was going overseas, when they took that and said no more, the 20% domestic market was suddenly flooded with the other 80%, which 80 is 400% of 20. So when the demand didn't change, but you flooded the supply with 400% more, the prices, of course, went through the floor. So there hasn't been as much money in that. So that's why we've gone to further separating our paper into office paper and newsprint, and we've separated our plastics from the combined to just number ones, number two naturals, and number two colors, so we're able to get the higher price. But we got ahead of that last fall when China was just discussing it, so it really hasn't affected us too much. It has affected the haulers that haven't been able to clean up their material, but it hasn't affected us because we've been further sorting the materials.
But down the road, it won't. This 5-year plan.
This 5-year plan will affect everybody. It's not going to have the same types of consequences as the national sword because it's only the state of Colorado, so it's not going to affect the country. But again, the same thing, when the demand doesn't change, but you mandate that the supply increase, well, the prices are going to go down with it. So it's fairly economic 101. If you increase the supply without the demand, the prices go down.
And what saved our bacon was the Montezuma County landfill and commissioners changing the operation of the landfill from belling everything and
Belling
turning
all our
the building into a recycling facility.
You know, fortunately, that's got us way ahead of the curve on this. Way ahead of the curve on this. So.
Can you tell us what kinds of things you have in your upcycle store right now? I mean, or what you're seeing, or?
Well, I think right now we've got a couple of lawnmowers. We're starting to see the first of those come in. We've got some furniture. We've got a very nice green electric barbecue grill. Somebody dropped off. We've got a stand-up charcoal grill. I think we've got one working refrigerator. Somebody upgraded. So, lots of knickknacks.
Knickknacks.
Invite everybody to come down and take
Well,
a
this
look
is my
for
question.
yourself.
If they ban plastics from the landfill and they don't take contaminated materials, what do you do with the diaper?
Well, they haven't specifically mentioned diapers, and
But it's made out of
if I
plastic.
wanted them to hear that mentioned, I'd tell them myself. So. Yeah. Right. And some counties have already gone ahead of the state and implemented some of these disposal bans already. For example, Boulder County has already implemented a cardboard disposal ban, and I guess they've got the equivalent of a meter maid, like a dumpster maid that goes around and checks people's dumpsters.
I'm in trouble.
And the first time they find cardboard in the dumpster, it's $100 fine, and each consecutive offense is $1,000.
Whoa.
So I don't see Montezuma County ever going that direction. And to be perfectly honest, if it came to a state mandate of that, I don't know how they'd ever enforce it. My concern here would be if they were to do something like that. Most of the people that live in the county aren't going to put up with it. They'll just put it in a pile and burn it. And a year like this, when everything's dry and we've had a lot of high winds, I think it's going to has the potential to do a lot more damage to the environment than good. My personal opinion. So I do think that what they have is probably well intentioned. I don't think that it's been well thought out. We can see, for example, the disposal bans they've already put in place for waste tires and electronics and stuff like that. They said, well, there's this much harmful stuff. You put it in the landfill in 10,000 years, it might contaminate groundwater. So they banned it from the landfills. Well, now it's in Cache Canyon.
It's in Arroyos.
McElmo Canyon. And it's not in 10,000 years contaminating groundwater. It's contaminating surface water this year. So, again, I think maybe they had good intentions, but they didn't think it out for rural areas of the state. So if you drive up to Cache Canyon, you can take a look. In fact, if you just want to take a trip down Oak Street to the three-way stop down there.
By McElmo.
Yeah, just look at the three-way stop there and look down there and you will see tires and TVs that people don't want to pay the disposal fee. And that water travels about a mile to the sanitation district where they clean it up and pump it up the city for us to drink. So that's the consequences. It is affecting our drinking water right now. So I think the state would be wise before implementing bans to consider the consequences. With
So
the
good at sugar coating.
yeah. Would the materials be better in a lined landfill where we monitor the groundwater and do everything we can to protect the environment, or would it be better in Cache Canyon and McElmo Creek?
That's why we hired you.
Good question, Chad.
Should we make a motion on this cleanup day?
Yeah, is it gonna change? What's you all's decision? I don't know if I was in here for that.
To divert it to the landfill.
And include the county in it instead, not just the city?
I mean, the county's already included in it. It's just not in for the marketing purposes. It sounds like we're the ones who foot the bill for it. The city just hosts it.
No, I mean, for county residents to bring theirs.
City and county residents, probably,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Can take their
Well,
right.
city residents are county residents, are they not?
Right,
Sure,
right,
yeah.
of course, but
We're all one big happy family, are we not?
right. So I think I don't know that this is necessarily a motion that needs to be made, but if you want to make sure that you have unanimity, you can vote on it and make sure there's two of you that agree on that. But I think all we're saying is we're not waiving fees for haulers that bring it from Cortez. Is that what the decision is?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how to state that.
Shane keeps wanting an answer.
Well, I would move that we, to help our environment and not burn more diesel fuel, that we haul the materials from the county and the landfill on, what's the day? May?
I think it's May 12th.
12th.
I'm trying to find it real
And
quick.
that be a free day for county residents at the landfill.
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded that on May 12th.
April, May, drop off on Saturday, May 12th.
Okay. On May 12th, that the landfill will accept waste from city and county residents at no charge, with probably should put an exception.
Yeah, except for items that require electronics.
Special handling.
What would you?
Just special handling. Right?
Special handling items.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me. Aye.
Aye. Have you got it, Kim?
Got it, but I got it recorded just in case.
All right.
Good deal. So that should answer Shane's question.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm up in 7 minutes.
Well, we got Lynn came to do the,
Thank you, Shaq.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.
I'll have my gloves.
All right, sounds
Mhm.
good.
Lynn, we're ahead of schedule, so we'll
People that pile the trash in the corner should be the ones that pick it up and throw it in the dumpster.
Good morning. How are you, Lynn?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Highland.
So this is Echo Basin. You haven't got a chance. And it's just a renewal. The sheriff's letter is attached. Everything's okay.
It's not that old, right? Didn't they just get it last year?
No,
or
the
something?
last year is the
Yeah.
under the new owner. Yeah, we had quite a
I
few
would-
of those last year.
I would move the approval of the liquor license renewal for Echo Basin LLC located at 43747 Road M in Mancus.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the retail liquor license renewal for Echo Basin Ranch, 43747 Road M, Mancus, Colorado. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Just here at the bottom.
Yes.
I rode 29 miles and I like those roads.
You guys are full steam ahead this month.
Yeah.
I wanted to see when I get out.
Yeah.
Planning on going.
Do we see if James is ready?
That's all I need. Yeah. Thank you.
I might not have any legs left.
Yeah. There's a couple laps, pretty much. Did you?
Yeah, man, we're already 11 o'clock, ain't we?
No, I did the first race,
Yeah.
and then I did the
James,
two for more, and then I
We have
did the other
a
side.
lady, Diane,
Yeah.
from Dolores,
And then
that
I
wanted, she
met
missed
some
the
friends,
public
family
comment
that night and did the
because
easy one
I told her to
across
come
the-
at 9:30
Oh,
and we
so
were already
You-
past
you
that.
saw her, you're
So
good.
can
So
she,
what's that?
We've got plenty of time. Right?
Yeah.
so this is, I don't remember your last.
What is this?
Cowell, Diane Cowell.
Is this public comment?
Public comment. Because I told her to come later and we were already past that. So,
Yeah, I wanted to make a request, especially since it's getting close to, or we are in spring. Dunlap Hill, Road 31 in Dolores, is got a lot of high people traffic, not just cars. And they did do the double lines to keep people from passing, which they were doing. But what I would like to request is having a line of sight sign, no line of sight sign, put at the bottom of that hill and at the top coming down, because now that we're approaching, or we are in spring, the school has their kids that run up and down that road. We have people biking on it. We have people driving, taking babies in strollers going up and down that hill, exercising, and there is no line of sight, and it's kind of dangerous, and there are still people who are passing, and the sheriff's department can't stay up there 24/7. And like I said, the warmer the weather gets and with the heavier the traffic gets with people with the travel trailers heading for the forest and everything, I don't think putting no passing signs is going to help because they're not following the double yellow lines. But maybe if we have something that says there is no line of sight, it might make them be a little more cautious.
So there is a proposal to make a trail through the bottom of that draw. I don't know if you've heard about that, and we could not gain any traction with the city of Dolores.
That's not surprising. But no, I did not hear about it.
Yeah, that's already been designed by Sean Gregory, that's a neighbor of yours up there,
Mhm.
and we just couldn't get no traction on it. But the thing is that hill is going to get more and more foot traffic for the simple reason that they built the Overlook Trail, and the Overlook Trail can be looped.
Oh yeah, it's gone
If-
up.
And so to make the loop complete, you have to either go up that hill or down that hill with a bicycle.
Right.
So it's, as the Overlook Trail gains traction as far as it's getting more and more was
Popularity.
popular, then you're going to have more and more bikes.
Well, we also have people pushing their baby strollers up and down that hill. And there is like no way, well, I guess you could, but it would be a lot more costly to put a path on one or other side to have people really away from it, because there's no, obviously, you know, there's no shoulder access or anything for someone to pull off except for that one spot.
You know, that if I was a city councilman in Dolores, that hill is probably the gateway to 90% of the stuff that goes on there besides the lake and the river.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that that city council would make that a priority for a path to get
Well,
up
especially
there.
since they agreed to allow them to make that big bike trail up there over in the Boggy Draw area.
So there's been a trail design that goes up that gully, that goes right up that gully, up down that hill there on the.
Yeah, and the majority of the land is owned by Walt Tennis that owns Southwest Seed. And I think, but then it goes down there, it gets really steep, and so it was designed to go back, I think, east, and then would come out by the housing authority's property, so that you had the grade that would be,
tolerable to.
yeah, to climb up or walk or down. But it gained no traction with the city of Dolores, but maybe with these new candidates. But as far as back to your question, we could run that by our,
Yeah, and there's just not a lot our road supervisors can do there, because you either cut into the mountain and that's that shale, it's that crud, you know, it's kind of cruddy soil there on that
Yeah.
hillside, and he's, the only way he can widen that and make a walking path or a bike path is to cut into that hillside and start taking, you know, and that's, I mean, that's
Major dollars.
that's
Major dollars.
Major,
Yes.
major road building project.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Yeah.
but
So-
if the city of Dolores was to take, you know, some
Some initiative on that.
initiative and,
Yeah.
you know, the other thing about that road is, I would say probably 90% of all the livestock in Montezuma County, which
Oh.
is 40,000, goes up that road.
And back down it again in the fall.
And the logging, it's the main artery. If the way I look at it, if you think of a heart, that road is the main artery going to the heart to feed it.
But they're just like the Forest Service. They know that they should be thinking about doing something, but they don't want to be the ones to spend the money, and it's a county road, so they're going to dump it on you.
Understand that.
I mean, that's the plain truth, you know.
Well, there's something you got. Bring up a valid point. There's something that
And maybe we'll ask Rob if there's some signage. You think there's some signage that might help that?
Yeah, I thought if maybe they could put, yeah, like kind of like when you go into the national forest over there near the, I'm trying to think the name, you know where that power plant is?
yeah, Ken and Morgan.
Yeah,
Oh,
over,
yeah, oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And you go down that road with the, you know, when they have all the hunting and stuff in there, and I've seen signs there, and I thought that would work maybe there. It says limited sight line because it's a one-lane thing, and you can't see if somebody's coming, so you have to drive really
Talk
careful.
About it's a sign there on the Cottonwood Road that goes down to the west.
Right, yeah. And it catches your attention because you know it's only a one lane, but obviously we've got 2 lanes, but still it's limited sight. You should not even think about passing someone.
Well, and maybe or a sign of a picture of somebody walking in a bicycle or something with a.
Yeah, anything that would kind of,
Heavy pedestrian traffic.
something like that would catch their attention,
Well, at
hopefully
the top
to
of the
be.
hill, we do have a share of the road with ATVs, but the city of Dolores won't let them use them in the town. So
Right, they've got them up on the, up on the mesa. I've seen them that share the road, which I was kind of glad of because usually the people on the mesa, we get together at least once a year, and we take our 4-wheelers and we go out and clean up all the mess, beer bottles and bags and whatever to make it a little nicer looking.
Clean up your house up there.
Yeah, clean up the road area.
Well, let us talk to the road department and we'll see if we can do something sign-wise.
That would be
But I
good.
think it would probably pay, once this election's over with, to have us talk to the county, to the city council and see if something can be worked out to get a different trail, because I don't care what you do sign-wise or anything else, that's gonna be a dangerous road. No matter
Mm-hmm.
what.
It is.
No, it's a steep, narrow, dangerous.
Well, we would be more than willing to go to the city council and bring it up in front of them.
That would be good because they're definitely not going to listen to the people because we've complained about stuff before. It's like, oh, that's the county's road. You know what I mean? Whenever it gets brought up, that's kind of the answer we get. That road belongs to the county.
That road belongs to everybody in this county.
It belongs to everybody. We
That's
all
right.
live here. It's kind of like when they complain about the stuff at the school and everything. It's like, we all are in this community, whether we have kids in that school or not. It's all our business.
We're still a part of all of it.
That's right, yes.
Let us try and do that.
Okay, I'd appreciate it. Anything you can do. Because I certainly don't want to see someone getting,
Get hurt or
Yeah.
injured or killed on.
well, yeah, it's like that one man that fell off his bike and it turned out that there was no foul play. He had a heart attack and, somebody come crazy down the road, they could have run right over him.
I felt like I was going to have a heart attack climbing up that hill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's already designed the trail. I don't know nothing about it.
Sherry's here also, James.
Okay. Sherry,
Just jump her ahead.
running ahead of schedule all the way around today, so.
Morning, Sherry.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi.
Bye. Morning. The 6-month report. And if they're not ready to sign it, that's okay. I brought it, okay. I'll let you do the other one first. I had a resignation, of retirement, yeah, but,
Oh, yeah?
she was off for 3 months.
She's been
sick,
gone for 3 months? Oh.
And then she just didn't come back.
How long had she worked there? Are we allowed to say who it is?
About 8 years. Katie Smith, Katharina
Mm-hmm.
Smith. She was my chief deputy public trustee, and she was the only one that was in that position. So I'm gonna have to replace her. Tara Connor has been helping me with the releases and the foreclosures the 3 months that Katie's been gone. So she's familiar with it, at least. I was wondering if I could move her into that position. And she's actually on the treasurer's side. So I'll have an opening in or be shorthanded in the treasurer's side. So I'd like to
So
hire
you're doing that
another
full, is that a
person.
full-time, is that full-time?
That's
To do it
full-time.
full-time?
Yeah.
Do you have numbers of the 3 months? How many foreclosures that they worked on and releases?
Let's see, this 3 months, I think we've had 8
So it takes 3
foreclosures.
months for one person for 8 foreclosures to do the.
Well, they're ongoing. They can take 2 years to get through, but we opened 8. But we've got about 30. And they just don't go to sale, they keep getting continued or whatever. We're working on them all the time.
Right, because they can pay them, and then they go
Right
and start
to
all
cure,
over
they get
again.
time for right to cure and all that of stuff.
Yeah. But I do need a person in that position. I have to have somebody. I can't keep up. One way or the other. I'm gonna have to move
Tara into that position, I think. But I'd like to replace Tara out of the treasurer's part.
Well, I think we're getting, to me, that sounds like you're getting your department down to right size to me, Sherry. I think we did, I can't remember when it was, but we looked at other counties that same size as ours, dollar amount, what you handle, the activities in your office and stuff, and I felt like we were overstaffed in your department, that you had more staff than most of the others.
Well, I'm gonna say, I've spent several Saturdays there posting payments, just trying to keep up.
Well, I'm not saying, I won't deny that at all, but is it because of people's inefficiencies, or why would we be so much more overstaffed than other treasurers' departments of counties that handle equal amounts of dollars, same basic size of transactions and things that go on? Is it because of efficiencies, or why would they be two people less than what you have in your department?
Such as which?
I'd have to go back to this, so I'd have to go back and look, but I know when we studied this, when we looked at this before, it was very evident that we were staffed much higher than other counties with equal amounts of treasurer activities and treasurer's transactions. We had up to two more people than what they had. And I don't know,
Well, I just wonder, how does the person that's running for treasurer feel about this?
I think she thinks that she needs another person.
Well, I would like to at least hold off until, I would recommend we hold off until we see if we're gonna have a new treasurer, what their thoughts are. We know we're gonna have a new treasurer, and I'd prefer to see what her thoughts are on that.
For me, it is, we've already been told this, that we're going to be short another $1 million, more than likely, because of the Gallagher amendment, that we will have to cut next year. So we dipped 500 some thousand to balance the budget this year, meaning that next year we're going to have $1.5 million to figure out how we're going to come up with it, and we don't know how we're going to do it. It's
well, and I made a commitment myself. We're not going to do it out of our reserves, out of our reserve funds to balance our budget. It's going to be if
I feel the same way.
Says it's true, then there's going to be cuts. Is what there's going to be. Where that's how we're going to balance the budget. There's going to be cuts, and I don't think there's any other
Countywide.
You can't run your business. You can't run your operations on using reserve funds or reserve monies to do that. So I would like to leave it as is for now, and when the election's over, we'll talk to the new treasurer and see what her thoughts on it are. But maybe Sherry's time to cross train more, get more efficiencies out of the staff you have, get more efficiencies out of them.
We can all work the counter, and we already can, except for Katie. She didn't. The public trustee, she did not, but Tara can.
Tara can, because Tara's been on the counter.
so she, the public trustee, can't because she's a total different department, right? Is that why?
Well, that's not. It's just that.
I see.
It would be cross-trained if she moves, because Katie knows both, or Terry knows both sides, Katie did not.
Yeah, she never did get trained in the treasurer side. So.
How long has she been? She's been in treasurer office a long time.
Yes,
Is that
about
all
8
she ever did?
years. Yeah.
I feel the same way as Commissioner Ortel for now, and I think that's a good question. When there is debates for running for office, to be asked by the public and see what the current person that's running for office has to tell their constituents, or soon to be.
Okay. All right, I will tell them. Have you looked at the 6-month report for?
I have not seen that. I didn't get that
Okay.
in an email. I didn't get that in an email.
Well, can I give it to you and then I'll bring it back next
You
Monday
sure
to be
can.
Yeah.
signed?
Yeah.
You sure can.
This
Yeah,
is,
And then she can just look.
I didn't even
for,
get the agenda and stuff.
the last
Did you?
6 months
I never
of
got
last
it.
Yeah, I got the
Yeah,
agenda.
they never emailed me an agenda.
She sent it. It was pretty early in the week, wasn't it? The agenda.
I think Billy sent it. I
Did
don't know
she?
if she sent it to you guys or
Yeah,
not.
she did.
I missed it somehow.
I did too, huh?
I got a newspaper ad and some other stuff. Anyway.
You want one and some, or not yet?
This is the end of the year number.
So if we have them sign one of these, we just give it to
Well,
you.
this is the one I've signed.
Oh, okay,
So I marked it
Okay.
published.
okay, perfect. So we'll get it signed, so put on the agenda for the next week. And I'll give it to you.
All right. I can do that, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.
James will be coming here in just a minute. I just got a letter handed to me. I've been trying to get in touch with Kathy Kennedy with the Mega Cemetery District. Her term is up, and so she wrote a letter there requesting to be reappointed for a 6-month term. She's got, they're working on a lot of things, expanding that cemetery across the road.
Oh, yeah.
And she's the secretary.
You say 6 months or 6 years?
6 years. She would be the 6 years, so. And I sent her some information quite a while ago. She said, I just go through my emails and I found it. She sent me an email this morning, and she brought that letter over this morning, so if you don't mind, if you would like to reappoint her to the Mega Cemetery.
Yeah, so, you good with that? I would move that Catherine Kennedy, P.O. Box 1412, Mancos, Colorado, be reappointed to the Mancos Cemetery District Board for a 6-year term.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to reappoint Catherine Kennedy to a 6-year term on the Mancos Cemetery Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ran out of stuff to do.
I think James is coming in. And here he comes.
Hi, James.
Hi, John.
James, I think I left you out of the loop, but we did intervene in Phil's world.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
I'll forward you the motion in case you want it.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I'll keep it in my records too.
Okay.
John, can I ask you, you've got anything?
Yeah, I figured I was going to just say that at my attorney time. And I realized, because I've been working with James kind of on it, but when we did it, I forgot to tell him that we did it. So,
In the lawsuit.
well, no, right. So, sorry to take your time right now.
Oh, no problem.
So, the Falls, a couple, basically appealed the BLM's decision, and then we filed for intervener status last week, essentially to keep us appraised of the suit and how it's going, and also we can make our own arguments now if we want to. Right. We also gave I gave our intervening motion to Danny Gregory from Cocapelli Bike Club, and my understanding is that they, kind of probably used ours a little bit, but changed it to fit themselves, and also filed for intervener status.
Good for them.
So is this actually a lawsuit, or is it more?
It's more of an administrative appeal of the BLM's action. So maybe lawsuit's not the right word, but it's kind of the same thing.
Seems to be. So.
Yeah.
Or modeled like it anyway. So.
That couple got the Hopi tribe to try to intervene before the process was complete. And then after that didn't work, they did this. So they've tried everything they can so that they can use that BLM just for themselves and nobody
Their own
else.
backyard.
Okay. First thing I want to start off with, went to the ANS technical team meeting this week, and where we visited about the ANS situation and what's going on up there at St. Hen and everything. So Deputy Dave Hune was there, and things have been pretty active already this spring. He's reported that there are a couple access points, 2 at each of the reservoirs at Puett and Summit, and apparently people are being able to get around the barricades and or illegally launching there. So anyway, each one of those sites has two locations where they're able to get in and are apparently doing it. He also contacted 3 parties trying to access at the Dolores Cemetery. At one point, he was making a contact with a party that was trying to launch their boat. Another party came in, saw him, turned around, and drove out. And he thought to himself, I bet if I drive around the lake, I'm going to find him. Sure enough, over at Big Bend, 5 minutes later, he caught him trying to put the boat in there at Big Bend. So anyway, we've had, also there's evidence of people pushing the rocks, barriers out of the way, and once they get their access, they'll come push that rock back into place, and so it makes it look like nothing's been disturbed. But there's been evidence of that happening. There's been some witnesses of that. So the Forest Service, to try to counteract that, is going to go out there. They'll do a countersink on those rocks. They'll sink them in into the ground far enough, it'll be a lot harder to push those things out. CPW has reported that we've been seeing some increased threats from Lake Powell, and they had 4 boats caught at inspections this year. They've been infected for sure, and pretty badly infected. So it appears that there's just been more traffic than ever starting to come out of that area, and we don't know whether it's because the mussels are spreading that much more rapidly down at Lake Powell, or what the situation is. Maybe it's just increased vigilance on our part. But anyway, we have caught some boats. McPhee is scheduled to open on April 14th. That's going to be 2 weeks earlier this year. And they're really kind of dinking around with the hours over at House Creek. So they're going to close House Creek 2 weeks earlier and shift some of the manpower over to the main marina. So that way they're able to kind of hit the marina that seems to have the most demand and try to expand the season as best we can on that. Funding is just kind of the name of the game on this thing, and it's statewide, and state's just not prepared yet. So CPW is working on it. I think everybody's actively working on what they can do to try to get something in place, but we're just behind the game. This isn't new news. I mean, I think we've known this for a long time. But I think the other thing is everybody's kind of coming to the realization that this is a permanent deal. This isn't going to go away. We're not going to have a magic cure probably next week, probably not next year, and maybe not in the next 40 years. We don't know. Hopefully we can just contain it as best we can. State of Colorado has revised some of their language on exempt boats, and we could probably scroll down a little bit on that. And so you can read the language there, but basically it takes into account the trolling motors at this point too. And there were a couple other boats that as foldable boats and things like that people were using and had motors attached and stuff. And so they've had to add those to the exempt boats category.
As far as MVI goes, they were kind of ahead of the game, and they just said no motors, period. And so the state has actually kind of come in line with what MVI had initially said. Okay, we can scroll down, and this will be the hours for inspections and the fee as it stands right now. And I won't read all this to you, but we'll be opening April 14th, and as we can see, it'll be 7 days a week at the main boat ramp. You know, pretty good hours operation, normal kind of hours, and extended it into the evening as best we can during the early spring. We can scroll on down there. Once we get into September, we're starting to close the season down then, and we're looking at closing the main boat ramp then in October, and the House Creek boat ramp then would be closed the 2 weeks earlier than that. Well, actually a whole month earlier than that, but in September. So, also, you know, one of the things, because this problem is just not going to go away, we're seeing more and more people trying to skirt the law and trying to get into the reservoir and things like that. We just felt like this is public education is really a lot of what we're looking at. So the gentleman that is the biologist from CPW, he's going to come down again this year. He's doing the ANS trainings for all of our inspectors, and so coupled up with that, we're going to get him to do that presentation again. And so we'll try to get that out to the public. We haven't got, well, actually, I guess we do have the date set. 7 p.m. Wednesday, April 11th, at the Destination Grill. Yeah, and so we'll get some more advertisement out and everything about that. Try to get the word out on that. And you know, I think we're probably going to do this on an annual basis, at least for the near term. Okay, and I guess we can go on to the Nakoma Flume. And so I just got a few photos in here. What Bert's doing here is they're going through and they're sampling wood. They do kind of a little bit of a core sample to kind of determine how good the wood is, test the moisture on it, and then they go through in the bad spots. They're in this case they're carving a spot out that they'll splice another piece of wood into it, and we can slide on down. And you can see where they've got some stockpiled there. All the bad parts, that's one of the big main beams right there. And you can see where they identified just a bad spot in it. They'll hack that out. That's a carpentry term, hack it out. But anyway, they'll fit a splice in there. And they're pretty neat little dovetail splices and stuff so that wood can't pop up. This is some real kind of old school carpentry, some of the real kind of fine stuff, which is pretty cool. I think Bert's having a good time with it. But you can see some of the main sills there where they've been able to salvage some of them. Some of them are going to be a complete repair. Yeah, we'll have to replace it. But they're going to keep as much as they can. So, and I think the guys are learning some good carpentry skills and stuff there too. So.
Are they like 12 by 12, 8 by 8?
Oh, you know, those are roughly a 6 by 6, I would say. I don't know the exact dimension on that, Andy. But they're about yay big. So that's a carpentry term too.
You're a pretty good carpenter.
You're right.
Yeah.
My fish was this big.
I just wish I could invent the board stretcher and I'd be rich. You have one? Yeah. He knows the board stretcher. Okay. So anyway, enough about the flume there. They're moving ahead with that and got everything kind of locked up. He's taking some of the work and he's doing it at his shop, and then bringing it back and fitting it and everything back on site. So that brings us to the letter for prescribed fire, and I think Melissa has a copy of that letter. I should have put that. Yes, that is it.
What was that last thing you had on there? Was that about the objection?
Yes, and I'll get back to that.
Oh, okay. We're going to go back to it. Okay.
Yeah. And so I made the correction on the prescribed fir and made that the prescribed fire instead. And I think that is pretty much it.
So the purpose of this letter, can you describe why?
Oh, okay, yeah. So this is for overall forest health in management. And you know, as we know, we've got a lot of buildup of understory, Gamble oak, and you know, variety of shrubs and stuff that build up in the forest. We've been under fire suppression for a long time. That's built up to the point where now that when we do have a fire, it can get up into the canopy, and it can be a pretty extreme fire. So this is part of the fuels mitigation program, and what we're trying to do is really kind of reduce that overstocked understory is really essentially what it is, and burn that out in kind of more what the forest would normally go through in a cycle of every, you know, say 10 years or so. It would have a low intensity fire that would move through, clean that brush out, reinvigorate all the grasses and forbs and things, and that would essentially create better wildlife habitat. But since we have been suppressing fire for so long, that cycle's been broken, and we need to kind of get back in there and reinvigorate the forest through prescribed fire, and hopefully keep it at a small.
So is the Forest Service asking for this letter because that's what their plan is?
Yes, there's an EA out, and so they're analyzing this and trying to determine the areas that are best for this, and actually have those areas determined as defined in the EA. But it is one of the more economical ways of really knocking that brush back. You know, you always got some risk with it. You know, obviously we all know that, and this probably isn't the best year to be using prescribed fire. But hopefully, you know, the fire doctors know that. So.
I'd move that we approve the letter to be presented for the EA for the Forest Service on using prescribed fire as a tool to reduce forest fires in the future.
I've got a clean copy here that's been revised. You know, I would note that the county has commented on this in the past, prescribed fires. The one area that we thought there was maybe some concern is, you know, how it works with the permittees up in the forest with grazing operations. But we felt like in the past, every time that they've coordinated with people, you know, it's been a benefit for both parties. So hopefully it will continue to be that way in the future.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a letter to Derek Padita, District Ranger for the Dolores Ranger District, in support of using prescribed fire to reinvigorate the health of the forest. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah, we can go back to the other page, and that'll be the last item. Okay, so the last item I've got is the Rico West Dolores objection process. So I got a letter from Bunny Maceo, which was the acting deputy regional forester who was in charge of doing the review of the objection letters. So she sent this letter out and said basically that we weren't going to find resolution, and so they were going to send us a response to each one of the objections that we sent out. And they think that's going to happen sometime this week. So anyway, I called Forest Service up this morning just to kind of get a better understanding of what the process is after this. And it was about as clear as mud, but anyway, I think we've kind of boiled this down to 3 steps. So the objection response letter is what we'll expect this week. Every objector will get that letter, and it just responds to what you talked about in your letter. Then Kara and Derek are going to get together. They'll consider what the next steps are going to be. 2 of the outcomes could be is that they could make a final decision, or they could move on to doing a new draft. If there's enough, I guess enough dissension in everything, that they could take another look at it. So now another thing, if the final decision is made and it's considerably different, it's possible that they could have a whole nother objection period, and that could essentially just reset the whole thing again too. So
if it resets it, does it allow additional parties into the objection process?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, because it would essentially be starting that whole analysis and everything over again, from what I understand. So again, that was all clear as mud, so this is good.
Or we can do like the couple did on the BLM after the decision was made, then you file an injunction and you go at it again.
So
They
in-
asked for a stay and filed an appeal, so their stay has not been granted yet.
Okay.
I don't know if it will be or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think in this case, if we go back to a new draft, then everything is just fresh. We've got new commenters, the whole thing, all over.
Well, if the county asserts RS 2477,
I would think that would eviscerate whatever they're emasculate what they're doing anyway.
That's what I was gonna say. If we do that, this is a no.
It would be a significant change to that plan. Yeah, so, and I can only anticipate that that's what Kara and Derek are discussing. You know, that's certainly got to be part of the discussion. You know, I'm sure they're evaluating what our chances are. It's probably how the discussion is going to go. But I mean, those are pretty good maps. I mean,
You were going to send me those maps and you didn't.
So I still need to get
Okay.
you those. And I need to get you that link. That website's got everything on it,
Okay.
on all the adjacent maps too. Okay, so I guess that's it for that one. Oh, I did want to mention the objectors can still call in and talk to Derek to try to sway him one way or another. I think a lot of that's still going on. San Juan Trail Riders and Wild Earth Guardians have both sent counter proposals back, and I think this is going to kind of continue for a while, at least until Kara and Derek decide whether or not to make the final decision.
Are you privy to when they call so that you know what they had to say, or is that a call that's done mutually
Is
at
this
the same
public
time?
stuff when you call Derek, or is this just between you and Derek on these objectors that can still call Derek?
Oh, okay, that's just between the objector and Derek.
Kind of private side.
Yeah.
Man, he's got to take some record of that notes.
Yeah,
I
that
think are
doesn't make
public.
sense.
Yeah, I would think that he's required to take some notes and document that he got an objection.
Sure, yeah.
This seems like a no-brainer to me. We got maps showing that the trails have been there before the Forest Service was established, and we got people that's been around here a long time that are aware of those trails.
And they were there for a very specific reason. They were to get the mining claims and all kinds of stuff that were going on back in those mountains back in the day. They were trails and roads that were used for access.
From what Casey said, we've got the evidence. I think all we need to do is make the assertion.
Make it stand. Make it stand.
So there's really no reason to hold back on that. So give me those
So,
maps.
okay.
And we'll figure out how precisely we want to do it.
Okay, sounds good.
I mean, we're probably just going to make the assertion the way we think we're supposed to make the assertion and give it to them and say,
They're the ones that are supposed to have to disprove it, correct? We claim that it's ours, and they have to show that it's not. Cool, good.
Okay, I guess that concludes my report for the week.
Thank you. Very well done.
Thank you. Listen, you got. Oh, that's right.
Maybe one more, but I don't know. Might just be stuck with us.
We'll start with you and see what happens. Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Hi. Yeah, good to see you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Good morning, sir. Good to see you
again. Hello again.
Leroy and Brian Barton, correct, with the.
Okay.
I was on vacation last week, so.
Well, it seems like your helper took care of things.
Yes, she did.
Well, how's your funds come in this year?
We keep going up. I don't want to be held to that kind of progress.
We'd like to see some up. We'd like to see some up here.
Okay.
We may be needing some of that Treasury Lodgers Tax money to help us here on our budget, you know?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see about that. Okay. Well, we're up on the board there. Well, the first part of the report was just some general discussion and so forth, but this is the crux of it right here. Yeah, and last year at the same time when we were before you, we only had 156.5 or so. So
Was some of that carryover from the previous year, that 156?
only about 9,500, I think it was.
I was thinking it was
Yes.
around 140.
This is our new
Yeah, we're doing
member,
more
Darlene.
Darlene, yes.
Hi, Darlene.
Darlene Dennison.
Hey, Dennis.
Oh, Darlene. Good morning, Darlene. Nice to see you. But anyway, where we were at was we had a carryover of 95.62 last year, which helped us get started, but we're still a lot higher. As you can see, we're at 180,700, so, which made it real fun for the committee to try and, because it seemed like somebody got word that we had more money.
That word gets around real quick, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and so we had grant applications over 200,000, 215, 300. So a difference of almost 35,000. Forgive me, I have to put on my cheaters from time to time. Sorry.
That's all
Hey,
right.
it comes with age, comes with
experience.
stage of life.
Is that what it is?
Comes with experience.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, we went through a process, the committee did, and went over the request. And Mancus was quite a bit higher. And we, I don't know how much detail you want with that, but in our discussions, we felt it best to keep them at 35,000. And Mesa Verde Country, they wanted to get 70, and we kept them at 60. It's not that the proposal was bad, because they always turn in a good proposal. But we felt that this is the best we could do for them, and they get quite a bit of funds from the city and so forth.
How much were they granted last year?
60,000.
So it's the same.
It's the same.
Do they give you pretty good evidence, or do you see good evidence that their marketing attempts and their marketing programs benefit?
I should probably let Brian answer that, because you appointed him as the representative.
Liaison from
Yes,
the-
yeah.
I'm very happy to tell you, and this is the case for many, many years now, there's no better tourism dollar spent than the way that Mesa Verde Country chooses to spend their tourism dollar. The return that we see on that is significantly far higher than any other way that we spend tourism dollars in this area right now. So they are kind of the gold standard for us, but still, there's a finite amount of funds, and we understand that we're trying to keep it very realistic. So
How is that? Is it because of the internet and the way they?
it's the presence that they have all over the area. They not only have the presence with the Mesa Verde Guide and the internet and the website and optimization of the search engine and all that type of thing, but they have the physical contact, the physical liaison for the trade shows and the different groups around the country here. And I travel a lot for my hotel as well, and I'm always checking up and finding Mesa Verde Country travel planner guides in the most remote areas of the country, in the farthest, dustiest little airport, and those are fresh, and they're still going through them. And so they really have a long reach, and they follow up well.
That's good.
Okay.
So you feel like those dollars are well spent, and that's all I need to know.
Okay. And next we had Galloping Goose. They requested 10 this year. Last year they only requested 1,000. But what we found in our meeting in reviewing these requests is everybody is asking for staff help and trying to go through tax lodgers dollars, which in our discussions, and the two members here can help me if I miss something, is that when you try and give somebody staff help with grant money, then and they become to depend on it, it's hard to keep it up. So it's be careful.
On grant money.
Yes. And that was one of the things about Galloping Goose. They wanted to pay for more staff help in their gift shop and those kind of functions in their operation. So we did grant, for your approval, of course, $2,000. And the Ute Mountain Roundup was an interesting case, and I learned quite a bit, which I didn't know about. Was they're doing some outreach with advertising and so forth through the RFD channel. And forgive me, but I wasn't hip to the RFD channel. I caught it quite well.
I'm not hip to anything else, but I am hip to the RFD channel, so yes, sir.
So that's where we have our livestock auction.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well,
No free delivery.
That's right.
okay. Well, I learned something, and the information to help them and to help the area with tourism is real strong with that channel. And we were glad to recommend that they get the amount they requested.
And that was for their request?
Yeah, was to advertise on RFD. Yeah. And the next one is Crow Canyon. They requested, excuse me, $7,500. This was an interesting discussion for our committee because Crow Canyon always turns in a good writing or request for whatever. But this particular case was the Mesa Verde Museum is moving out of the Welcome Center, and Crow Canyon went in with the city to put a little operation in there where the museum was. And again, they were requesting that they'd already made the agreement with Cortez, and then they wanted to put it in a grant application. And as I said, that was kind of a spirited conversation in our meeting because you might need to borrow money from Crow Canyon. Their budget is like close to $5 million a year. Yeah. I don't remember exactly how much the county's is, but they're getting close to you.
They have a lot of cash on hand, which is something that we always look at closely when there's a request.
Yeah, and
They are financial.
They're
in
very,
good shape.
yes, very liquid and a great organization.
And they could, we thought that they could definitely make that increase and make some money off of it the way they're set up. That's our opinion, though. I mean, it's your call in the final analysis. Then there was the Cortez Cultural Center. And last year, I just wanted to bring that up. We had a $20,000 gift grant gift that we gave from the commissioners here, but they upped it to 27. And in explaining that, they went into detail that they were being cut some more by Mesa Verde Country, because Mesa Verde Country in years past have always supported them with the dancers and so forth. But because Mesa Verde Country has also been cut recently by the city, they cut the cultural center. And so they can.
How much did they cut Mesa Verde Country, the city?
I can't remember the exact amount.
I think we went, well, the city,
15%.
to Mesa Verde Country, it was a significant cut, but the flow through on that was about, instead of a $20,000 contribution from Mesa Verde Country to the Cultural Center, it was going to be about a $17,000. So they didn't get cut completely by all means, but about a $3,000 shortfall.
Okay, shortfall there. And, well, they had one other thing, too, that occurred that they wanted us to try and pick up on, and it was they were short another $6,000 also. I can't remember exactly what that $6,000 was.
I think some of it was operating and staffing again, and it's staffing that always raises red flags for us. Because
So that $3,000 back to Mesa Verde Country and the city, that's just to the culture center.
Yes.
But what was the cut to Mesa Verde
Mesa
Country?
Verde Country, it was a significant cut. It was somewhere on the terms of $20,000 to $40,000 based on what the understanding was that would come back into the fund after all the dust settled from 2 previous years of budget deficits. And when the dust settled, it was about a $40,000 ultimate deficit. So
Right.
that's why Mesa Verde Country's gotten a little tighter about trying to hand some of that from them to the cultural center as well, knowing that it comes from here and it comes from a lot of other areas also.
So the city claimed they had a 2-year budget deficit?
We had a 2-year
Yeah.
deficit with Mesa Verde Country specifically. Specifically just with that organization.
Okay. But their budget, and if you want to know exactly what their budget is, if they got what you would give them or approve, they're right around $403,000 for a budget, but we only recommended 60, so they're at about $393,000. for their yearly budget.
So the city had told us earlier that they had a 7% increase in revenue coming in for the year.
Yes, sir.
So I was trying to put those two together.
Right.
How can you have an increase of 7%, but then you're cutting 40,000? So
That was some old housekeeping and some
okay,
accounting.
thank you.
Okay. All right. And moving on, the Dolores Chamber asked for 37,000. We didn't, in the committee, we didn't want to recommend the additional 5,000 because it was basically for a sign going into Dolores with lighting and, well, no, they would raise the money for the lighting, but they wanted us to recommend an additional 5 for changing the sign that goes into Dolores.
And this is a sign that's actually located by the Fiesta Mexicana down here at the 145, 160 split.
Oh,
That
sure,
specific
down.
sign, so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. And then the last thing is the Cortez Chamber. We haven't had any requests from them before, but they requested 13,100 this year. And we recommended to the commissioners here 5,400. And the reason we did that is we, in our star there, is to, we got into discussion about their online relocation guide and their customer service training. And so we could see funding that. But we couldn't see funding the there was one other item. We couldn't see funding because it already exists in event planning and things like at Mesa Verde Country and a couple other places where all they did is they just clicked or sent a pass-through to that
So it would
website.
be in duplicate.
Yeah.
A community calendar type thing.
Yes.
It's hard when you start duplicating them, then people don't know which one to look at, and so we really don't want to dilute that money that's water.
Yeah, and we didn't see the county
So this is
giving
the
money
first
to
year
that.
They've applied to you?
Yes, it is. And then they also, again, that thing of, well, we have a staff person that puts in 40% in tourism, and can you help fund that? Well, we're trying to draw the line with funding staff. We get caught with, of course, in your behalf with the other chambers, their staff is also kind of taken care of with grant funding because almost 100% of their funds come from the lodgers' taxes. Cortez has a little bit better deal with that when you look at membership dollars because they have a larger base for membership fees, whereas Dolores and Mancos doesn't. Okay.
So is Rocky still, does she still run the Dolores and the Cortez?
Yes, sir.
Both?
Yes, yeah.
So there was a cost savings there.
There's a cost savings and there's a little dynamo. About the personality, if you will, in that scenario, is working quite well.
Yeah. Okay. So, for at your pleasure, we would like to recommend that we have grant approval for the $160 and $100.
Keep yourself a tidy little reserve of 20,605.
Going into the next year and for emergencies and so forth.
We're a little skeptical with the lack of a snowy winter, as everybody's worried about. We've seen this a few times before, and we know how it can affect us in the summer. We're a little skeptical about that and feel it'd be better to have a little bit more hanging on to just in case we need a contingency.
That was very well thought about because that could very well happen.
We hope not.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
I think you guys did a really good
Thoroughly
job.
vetted your applicants
Yeah.
and you gave good reasons for the requests you honored and the ones you didn't. And I'm comfortable with them.
So am I.
I will move that the budget for the Tourism Lodgers Tax Committee recommendations for their funding amounts for the year 2018 be approved.
Second.
Oh, excuse me, to the dollar amount of $160,100 with a contingency emergency fund of $20,605.39.
Second again.
Been moved and seconded to approve the grant approval amount of $160,100 with the $20,605.39 contingency fund. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Glad to see your numbers are up, that's good.
Well, yeah.
That's good.
Hope you show you
Hopefully
even
they-
higher next year.
Yep, hopefully they don't retro it, yeah, stay
Okay.
there, being on, yeah.
All right.
I'm not sure if you'll need some contact information of who to write these checks to, so I'll just give you a call.
Okay,
Or shoot you an email.
okay, and we'll give you the information back.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See
See y'all
See you,
again.
darling.
It's worth it. Thank you again.
You bet, Brian, thank you.
Lamont.
Does that cover all of our work? I didn't have a heck of a time.
Yep, we're done with the morning.
That's too much sunshine.
Yeah, she got too much, she got desert fever. You got desert fever.
I've never seen her yet, I can tell you that.
Didn't wear your gardening cap out there, huh?
I didn't take a hat. I was in a hurry to get out of here, but.
They sell them.
Yeah, they sell all kinds of baseball hats down there, the Diamondbacks and Cardinals. Yeah.
So, we got everything caught up, and
Yep.
we've got James's report done, so.
Did you have any?
I was on vacation, so I
I
don't have.
don't have anything.
This, I will have the financials and the accounts payable for you next week.
Okay.
So.
John?
So the only thing I think, in addition to the telling you all that we did file our intervening motion in the BLM Phil's World issue, is I think we should discuss the housing authority and whether or not we want to just keep track of when all these terms are ending. And Melissa, I don't know if you did get the same email I got, I think, that shows us when each term is ending. And right now there's one per year, which is how we want them to be. And I think we need to decide whether or not we want to just address it as that happens, as solicit applications and then bring it to the commissioners to appoint somebody to the housing authority. As each one expires, so it'd be one this year, one the next year, another one the next year, for 5-year terms each. Right now, I think they're mistakenly on 4-year terms. Or whether or not we just want to say, because we've been neglecting this over the last several years, we want to go ahead and solicit applications for the entire housing authority, but then we would appoint, one for 5 years, one for 4 years, one for 3 years, just so they end at different times.
Stagger, right?
So I think we should discuss that, whatever process, procedure you all want to do. I feel like it's as much our fault as anybody else's for not being on top of that, and appointing them as they expire.
And it's kind of interesting, because when I ask questions, it takes a long time to get an answer back, but we've gathered enough information.
Right.
in the last
So I can address that, because we had a housing authority meeting last week, and the director of the housing authority thinks that the county basically has no say in that. They believe that it was wrong about how the appointees, but I believe personally that we need to put all of them up for reappointment, and maybe we reappoint the same board that is currently there, but I feel like there's lack of transparency right now on that board, and this idea that, think about this idea that once you get put on the housing authority, you can stay there forever, that it's just automatically reappointment, so say 30 years, without even allowing somebody else to apply and have, that's worse than a senator of the United States. The senator of the United States at least has to run for office, and somebody has the opportunity to run against them. And so I'm of the opinion that we have Melissa, and that was the other thing, I was told that we weren't allowed to be the ones that advertised, and, but the housing authority.
I think John's
Of
got
course
that
we
pretty
can,
clear.
of course we can solicit
Yeah.
applications for it.
And I think
Theoretically, none of them have been appointed by the commissioners, right?
Well, they probably, and I'm assuming initially at some point they were, unless it was just the housing authority internally that voted them in without the commissioners knowing about it.
My recollection is we appointed Larry Dawn as the commissioner, and I think we appointed one other person.
We tried to appoint Rick Torres, and there was somebody.
Well, we can't have more than one county official on there, and I think our practice is to have a county commissioner, basically while they're in office. Yeah, and so that 5-year term thing is kind of weird. I mean, we reappoint at the end of that 5 years whoever if that commissioner happens to be gone, then it's a different commissioner that gets appointed.
And Phil finished that term. If that was.
I think procedurally that's.
Well, you can put me up for re-election on that thing as well. I would just say this: there was even talk of if we went this way that there might be a lawyer involved, that we couldn't do this. And again, the housing authority has $32 million worth of assets, and again, I believe that it is not being run transparent. And I think that it's time that it is transparent. You read all over the country, and I'm not saying I think that they do a good job. There has been some mistakes made on both sides, but boy, there's sure a lot of opportunity for fraud in something of this magnitude, and that's why the more transparency, the better. We're talking about a lot of money. $32 million is a lot of money.
John, could you describe what the relationship is of the county to Montezuma Housing Authority? Because I thought it was a standalone nonprofit that
I don't believe it is.
that asked the county to participate.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. And so I don't necessarily know enough about the history of it and its creation, but statutorily, I assume that this process was done a long time ago. The county created it and decides who serves on it. And so there's statutes that say, okay, the county commission can delegate that authority to the housing authority to make their own solicitations and vote their own people in or not. I don't believe that's ever happened. We haven't found it. We looked for it, and so I could be proven wrong. But I'm not aware that that's ever happened. So I think it's still the BOCC's responsibility to appoint every single one of them. So unless that's been delegated, which I'm not aware of.
So the mosquito district would be a special district as well, and when they weren't doing the proper voting procedure, the letter came to us, the Montezuma County.
State sent a letter to us.
And then we have.
Housing authority a district?
Not really, but it was created. So housing authorities are either created by counties or by cities, and this particular one was created by the county. And the thing is if something has been done wrong by the housing authority, we're responsible as well. So we want to fix that.
And one thing, I don't know if this is the right time to talk about this, but I feel like maybe we need a county administrator succession plan for when Melissa retires, so that the next so that the next administrator knows what our right, because this is a little bit our fault for not being on top of this.
Well, and I was headed at something when I've kind of over the
There's been
years
a lot
kind
of this that has been coming to us, not
Right.
left as a trail from the previous administrator to the current
I will leave
administrator.
a trail for my next.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the way you are, but we didn't have that trail.
Right. So a succession plan or something that says, hey, this is what this is what's out there. This is the board needs to appoint people. This is what's going to come up this year.
Procedures that have to be done annually. Yeah. Exactly.
Is there no charter or document that says how the housing authority is structured and how the board members are supposed to be appointed? Are you saying that you couldn't find something like that?
There is an initiating, I think it's a resolution that develops it, and then there's statutes that control it. So there's laws that say this is how it has to be run.
So it was a resolution done by the BOCC, and then the statutory rules and stuff followed in after the BOCC established it?
Right.
Are they CRS?
Yeah, they are CRS, of course, and I can maybe find them real quick, because I just looked at them pretty recently.
Files, I think I found, I went through 100 million different files, but there is evidence in the 90s when the commissioners appointed
There we go.
to that. And then since then, I mean, things have become electronic, and I don't put copies in that file anymore, but I didn't read, it's about like that. I haven't read down, and it very well may have that original authority to create. I haven't. I know where the file is, it's in the filing cabinet right over there.
But there's evidence that the commissioners were appointing
Yes.
people and people onto that board, the governing board of the Montezuma County Housing
Yes.
Authority.
And then
That's
I
all
think the housing authority since then
has kind of morphed into its own.
And I've also did a little research. So the current executive director makes $99,000 a year. That would be in the top 1% of residents in Montezuma County. And I have did some networking with other commissioners from other counties, and that salary is. And I have voted for a cost of living increase, but I had no idea that salary is extremely high compared to other counties with similar populations. Usually, I've had several. Usually, it's 2% of your assets. So, if they have 32 million, that salary would be 64,000. So, there's a lot here that needs to be more transparent, and that's what we're attempting to do here.
It's Title 29 for 50, 500 and the following, 502, 503, 504, 29-4. And so it's 29-4, 504 is the authority shall consist of commissioners appointed by the board, and it defines the board as the board of the county commissioners.
Well, Commissioner Succo, are you making that
I'm making a recommendation that we have the county administrator put out the advertising for that board, because I believe we're better at it. I think we could have more participation from people being interested with that, and that we do the whole board, including the election of the county commissioner to that board, just the whole board. And then again, that would go back to the applicants for the housing authority would be the board would choose, and I'm hoping that we get more participation of people that would be interested to be on that board. I mean, it's a really important board. I think where this housing authority has lost its way is that housing authority's job is to provide low-income housing to poor people, and there's some waste. I mean, there's some trips that I think were not costful. I believe there's a better way in management to spend the money so that the majority of money goes to the poor, to the project. And I don't know how to go further. I think
I'm going to make a motion to this effect to disband the current board as of a
No,
certain date.
I don't think we should disband the current board. I think that we need to make a motion that all of their I make the motion that we advertise for all of the positions, that we still have our housing authority board in place, and they also can reapply, and that we and then as we get the applications, and we'll
start doing the staggering that we need to do.
Yes,
every 5 years.
and then we reappoint.
That board.
And so then now we're back in compliance with the law, and who knows? Like I said, if we might pick the same board members all over again, except for the commissioner. And no.
But I do think right now that Montezuma County has, as part of the creation of it, that we do ex officio have one of the commissioners one of our BOCC commissioners as a commissioner on the housing
I
authority
think
as
that
well.
should continue, I really do. And I was joking around about that, but I think if we're gonna tell 4 people that, you know, you have to reapply so that we get back in compliance with, let's do all 5, including the county commissioner.
Reappoint everybody.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
So,
There are 5 on the board.
Yes.
what have you got for a motion?
I
I have that she wants the county to advertise for all positions for the board and possibly reappoint current board.
Yeah.
So the statutes use the word board for BOCC. This isn't important. I just want to make sure that we're talking about the housing authority board.
Yeah, so I, in my motion, that the Housing Authority Board.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded then that the county advertise all positions on the Housing Authority Board and reappoint a new board.
Well, what if you're reappointing the old board?
But they'll be newly reappointed.
Okay, newly reappointed.
Yeah.
And then that would get us back in compliance with the law.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We might have to tweak that.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I was asking.
Okay.
Are you opening it to the public to apply?
Sure, that's all.
That's exactly what we're doing. Anybody that's in the public can
Could
apply.
I make it, if you suggest that the motion says that the, sitting board members will be reappointed, and you're gonna have 1 commissioner, then you haven't left any space for
Who
you.
said the sitting board was
for
gonna
new-
be reappointed?
I just thought that's what I heard.
No.
That board.
I said they may, but that wasn't in my
They
motion.
end up being the ones
Okay.
that are appointed,
All right, thank you.
not automatic.
Okay, that's what I didn't understand. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else, John?
I'm not sure exactly what the
Oh,
motion is.
yeah.
I think I understand it.
Yeah, it carried.
I missed that part, sorry.
So, if we're still in my report,
Yes.
there's also been a lot of developments in social services, personnel stuff that I want to. I don't know if you have time this morning or if you want to this afternoon, but I do want to have an executive session, give you all legal advice, and inform you on some things that are going on. I don't know if now's the time or at the end of the day. I don't have a preference.
I think we'll roll through this pretty fast this afternoon.
Yeah.
So do it this
Let's do
afternoon.
it at the end of the session this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay. Then we'll adjourn for lunch.
Okay.
Nobody took care of my email address, Bonnie.
What? I checked it daily, and I thought I cleaned it up for you. Oh, man. Oh, man.
I know, I didn't look, I looked at my email and I must have 30. I couldn't believe it how many.
Really, that showed up from Melissa? Oh, yeah?
I haven't looked at, well, no, from various, but I haven't looked at it a couple of days. She had a lot.
Push it on, push it out.
It was something about, disaster, something that came from one of the senators or something. Montezuma County drought disaster.
Your favorite time of lunch?
Drought disaster.
Drought contingency plan or what?
That we
we got
funding right now. We're in a disaster area. That's exactly right, yeah. Because we border connection. That's right. Yeah, there's gonna be some help there, I think, yeah.
We'll just keep going red. I think I'm just gonna take the red ones and you guys have to deposit them in the trash. Oh, I got
But we're in a panic.
She can't help, sorry. I can't,
Yeah,
She
you're-
can't help with percentage.